All right, another Friday night on this channel right here. Okay. Last Friday night was an outstanding show, and hopefully, and that's what I'm always shooting for, that this Friday will be a lot better. So, welcome to another Friday night on BMBBH. This is Kev, and glad to be back here. And lots of stuff happening this week. I mean, yeah, it's the sorry about that. It's the week before the election, and I have to say that really honestly, our people are as crazy as cat shit. And I know that a lot of people are going to get mad because every, we seem to be a little bit good at pointing out the problem and pointing out the issue, and not coming up with the solution. But here's the thing. We here at the Habitual Line Steppers, we do believe that if we are to discuss problems, we are also going to discuss those solutions. And it's imperative that we have to continue conversations, such as these, of course. And it's like I said, it makes for very interesting conversations, and that's what I'm about in this place. All right, so let's discuss something that happened this week. Uh, all right, all right. Shout out to Don Calypso. How you doing tonight? Just gonna go ahead and talk about some of the happenings of this week before we get into the subject matter. And this is a very heavy and deep subject matter, whether we want to admit it or not, because a lot of us do play that high and mighty position when we talk about the gender war. And I'm going to explain why it is a gender war and why it isn't a gender war. But let's look at a couple of stories from this week, and then like people like actually act like that. They know what this broadcast is about to be. Is to be about. It's going to be a black woman bashing bonanza or something like that. But if you really want to think of it that way, then maybe you're just some hit dog that's trying to make excuses. So here's the big thing in this week. And this weekend, picking on black men for making their own goddamn decisions. Yeah, this is the newest thing. Lil Wayne endorsed Trump. Now, I don't know why everyone acts like they're pretty shocked about this, but it you shouldn't be surprised. Basically, number one, I will never ever fancy Lil Wayne like the intelligent political analyst, you know, because he's done every drug on the fucking planet. And shoot, I mean, like, he's a disconnected person. Seriously. So I don't expect any more, any less from Lil Wayne than to do something like this. Um, but for a racist president, I have to say that he's always seen talking to black people. DL Hughley is like, why they were, he said something like, why do Republicans only talk to rappers? And what I would say to DL Hughley is, what about all those dinners with celebrities that Obama had, throughout his presidency, and getting nothing done? But this whole political thing that has been going on social media has really honestly have done more to divide black people. But even the bigger issue, I would say, is having all these attacks on black men. People on social media are still attacking Ice Cube. And the whole situation with Ice Cube has taught me one lesson: you can literally give the exact answer to people who are angry with you, and they won't care at all. They won't care. They don't care about the truth. They don't care about the right thing to do. They don't care about making sense. Common sense ain't so common these days. But the bigger underlying issue is that your boy's a black man. Lil Wayne, regardless of, whether he's a disconnected celeb or not, Lil Wayne is a black man, period. That's and you know what? And there's a lot. There's not going to be too many people that are going to admit that. That is just the fact that a lot of it is Lil Wayne is a black man. And of course, you're going to talk about him and you're going to poop all over him, but he's not going to care because he's sitting on all the money and drugs he will ever want for the rest of his life. But for those of us that do care, that's going to be the challenge that we are going to face as black men. We all for some reason, here's me. I don't care about a dumb nigga like Lil Wayne. I listen to his music, sometimes a lot of that stuff was just batshit crazy. A lot of that stuff was smash hits, and I used to bump that shit. But really caring about how this man is politically, for real. If you're sitting up there complaining about, if you're sitting up here complaining about Lil Wayne's political allegiances and and if you really care about that and you're putting a lot of energy into it just because he endorsed Trump, then it probably is because a lot of that energy is coming from the fact that you just want to pick on a black man, period. Now, I'm not here to make black men into victims. I'm not. Because, like I said, the other side victimizes themselves and victimizes black women all the time. Hey, notice how I said victimize themselves and victimize black women. The other side. When I talk about the other side, I'm talking about the people who feel like that everything is black men's fault. Black men can't do anything right, just shirk the blame and all the responsibility on black men, saying that, people like me, people like Kevin Esther are responsible for the idiot decisions of other blacks. That I'm the one that has to take accountability for Lil Wayne doing stupid shit. Seriously, now, it's strange to me. It really is. But based on the two choices that I see, if I could pick let's say, Biden and Trump are both racist pieces of shit. Okay, Trump, by the rhetoric that he's said, basically, putting the battery in the backs of racists, making them feel good about being white and all this other stuff. And then you got Biden, who politically put policies into place that harmed and destroyed the black community. He's been there for 47 years. If I had to go with, if say you had to pick the racist that you would go with, if I would pick either one if I could pick one that said, which one of these guys align more with black men? Is it Donald Trump or is it Joe Biden? And if you're really honest with yourself, it's the guy standing by Lil Wayne. Not because he gets in pictures with everybody and just say, hey, you know what? Because for some reason, people acted like Donald Trump didn't exist to 2016. It's not because of that. It's because Donald Trump has made sure the Republican Party was seen doing one thing for 4 years, talking to black people. The biggest complaint about the Democratic Party from actually Democratic voters, not during the presidential election season, their complaint is Democrats only talk to black people every 4 years. But when the Democrats finally talk to him, all is forgiven. Every bit of it is forgiven. So, like I said, if I had to pick one that is closer to black men, if I had to choose the racist, it'll probably be Trump. But I'm not choosing a racist. It's funny to me, and it's funny to me how I can literally be a black man and say I don't support Joe Biden. And yes, this is about me being a black man. I can say I don't support Joe Biden, and a 78-year-old Caucasian man, and black people will come at me, sell out, coon, you support Trump. And I don't support Trump. I don't know how many times I've told people on social media this week, because I expressed disdain for Biden and his policies, that I'm not a Trump supporter. I don't have to be a Trump supporter to disapprove of Joe Biden, period. Joe Biden is not liked by black people for any real reason. Not one real reason. Tell me what you like about Joe Biden. Number one, and you have to leave Barack Obama and Donald Trump out. They're going to say something like, well, he's not Donald Trump. They're going to say that anyway because they have nothing. But if you're a black man and say, hey, you know what? I don't like this fucker. I don't like having to choose between the lesser of two evils. I think that we should just actually just promote the crazy idea of black people selling their votes. A black man told you should be selling your vote instead. And Ice Cube, this contract with Black America, this is not even the first time he said black people should sell their vote. It's not even that. It's not, because he said it months ago. And black people were pretty much still saying the same thing. That Ice Cube is just, I don't know. He said Ice Cube doesn't speak for black people. Ice Cube's ego is just too big. He wants us to go with his plan, and he's smoking the reefers. That little statement came out that they was talking about Ice Cube lied about the Democrats not wanting to meet with him, which was a huge media spin, to say the least. I mean, I can literally sit there and listen to Ice Cube hundreds of times explain that he is not a Trump supporter and that he presented the plan to both parties. People also pretend like they don't get the logic. Is why do you want him to talk to the Democrats on a call that is a fucking rally to vote with other rappers and entertainers without attention to the plan that he had for Black America, a contract with Black America? Why are black people complaining about this? You're black, you're African American, Black Lives Matter. Until it comes to politicians, then it's your people of color. You're a person of color all of a sudden. I'd rather be a black person than a person of color. You can say it's a crayon, like that crazy dude in the chat last week. You can say it's a crayon color all you want, but I'll take that over person of color. Because what that does is that puts you behind everyone else. And people act like they don't realize that. But I'm going to talk about that on Sunday. I'm going to get more to the politics. And I'm not the most astute political analyst. You know, I'm not going to pretend like I know I'm the best at how politics works. I'm not saying that. But you know what, though? I am a voter. Okay. I am a voter. I voted earlier today. And I think some of the people that follow me were mad at me for voting. Say, why are you voting, Kevin? And then I give the Alabama reason. You know, I'm from Alabama. Yeah, I'm a. All right, hold on one second. Just be patient with me. All right. Now, where was I? All right. We're talking about a contract with Black America. How can a black man literally, I mean, literally, say that I want something specifically for blacks and have most of black voters turn against him? A lot of people will say political allegiances, black people are brainwashed, Democrats are brainwashed, but is most of the problem is the fact that he's a black man? Is most of that problem a black man? Is he a black man? It's because he's a black man. I think that most of it is yes. He was a black man that used to be a rapper. And like I said, NWA used to be, and I've said this on another broadcast, NWA used to be a group that basically told their story on the street. When Ice Cube left NWA, NWA came with all that little negative, I kill a nigga stuff. This man has tried to do nothing but bring wealth and bring opportunity to black people, black men and black women. On that Zoom call, that Fox Soul, guess what? It's like they disrespected him. Vivica, Claudia Jordan, Selena Johnson, and Lisa Ray. Lisa Ray had access, and I heard another YouTuber make this point, and his name is Kevin also. Lisa Ray has had access to a luxurious lifestyle because of this man. But you know what? Yeah, the indoctrination, due to indoctrination, that didn't matter. It didn't matter if Q put on all these black people. It didn't matter if, Q, he did the one thing that all of you complain about black people not doing. He married a black woman and he procreated and had black children. And the comments is like that people have made about this man. It's like, it doesn't matter. He's a sellout. He thinks that the Republican Party is going to actually incorporate his plan, blah, blah, blah. People are just against it. No matter how many times he said he's presented to both parties, people have said the fact that he even talked to the Republican Party was a betrayal to the black race. So what are we supposed to do? Not talk? I was discussing this with somebody on Facebook, and really honestly, I'm gonna really slow down Facebook to 0 at none, because those people don't care. It's like those people, if they represent the black community is already done. He was saying that I don't see a plan where a black man really presented to the politicians a comprehensive plan. I was like, Ice Cube literally did that. Well, I don't. Then he changed it to name me one plan that has been presented to the politicians that's actually going to be ready and they're ready to go before the November 3rd. I was like, dude, you're moving the goalposts. You're just and then you just have a disdain for black men. Then I saw another public post, a black man, just black lives, like looking at his profile, Black Lives Matter paraphernalia all up and down his page, and he was talking about Ice Cube. And I mean, like, really honestly, people screaming Black Lives Matter. We scream Black Lives Matter all fucking year. We sit up here, we try to, we call ourselves representing George Floyd, represent Breonna Taylor, representing all the victims of police brutality. We do all this stuff. This is why I don't like Black Lives Matter as an organization. You only care, you use dead black men as a stepping stone, but you don't consider anything for living black men. One black man tries to step up, and then Black America turns against him. I'm ashamed and I'm disappointed. But let's start talking about this subject matter here. Because, we've talked about Ice Cube. We talked about politicians. I really want this election to be over with. because whether Biden or Trump wins, black men and the black manosphere, we got to mobilize. Period. We got to start coming up with plans as to what we're going to do because it's already established that everyone's against us. It's already established. We already know that. We already know that people see us as the problem. We already know that. Now, we have to get on the path to solving the problem. So there. Okay, there he is. Yo, Donnie, you there? Donnie. Well, once he realizes he's in the show.
Yeah, I'm in the show. What's going on?
Word. All right. We're talking about the rules of engagement, the infamous gender war, and we're here for another outstanding Friday night, sir.
All
So
right.
thanks for joining. I'll just going over a couple things like this election, the political climate, and really honestly, what choices are there for black men? What choices are there?
Sit down, shut up, let women run the show.
Okay, sit down, shut up, let women run the show. And what gives you that message, sir?
Black women on a consistent basis on every platform available. That's TV, media, news, books, hell, astral projection. Anything that they can send the message out with. Black men need to shut up. Black men shouldn't say anything. Black men shouldn't do anything. That's pretty much the message that it's given on all platforms. You notice that from Ice Cube going on Fox Soul and a bunch of black women arguing with him about absolutely nothing. They found reasons to argue with him just to have an argument. Um, it's insane at this point. You, as a black man, can't go and do things for your people because your people feel like they should have appointed you to do something. And you're not going to be appointed unless you are a female at this point.
All right, the Bunker TV. Shout out to the Bunker TV. He said we've already won the gender war, but it's bittersweet victory because we all lose. Yeah, because in the end, I don't think it's going to spell black unity. In the end, uh, it's not even really a gender war, so to speak. If it's anything, it's a war against thinking black men. It's black men versus everyone, it seems like, because we still, even though the burden of racism is on black men and black women, I mean, that's not something that I like to exclude black women from. It seems like the onus of responsibility is more on black men to eradicate the problem because our women get suckered in really quickly. And one of those things is feminism. Feminism is white supremacist rhetoric. Period. It serves it serves the end of white women. White women take their spoils and they share it with white men. Let me give you an example. All these women joining pinkies, talking about, oh yeah, go down to the polls and vote for Hillary Clinton. 77% of white women voted for Donald Trump. 77%. 98% voted for Hillary Clinton. Now, do you think that makes them better black people because all of them went and voted for Hillary Clinton?
Makes them look crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, and but what happened was since 13% of black men voted for Donald Trump, instead of the black people in general blaming the white racist, blaming blaming the people that actually voted for Trump, black men got the blame for it. That 13%, the majority of black men got blamed for that. Like even the black men that have vehemently and publicly supported Hillary Clinton, or like me, I was a Bernie Sanders supporter, which I gotta say a lot of black people still did not understand. We're the ones that got flack, especially Bernie Sanders supporters, but black men in particular got flack for Donald Trump being able to get in office. So, what sense did that make? Because what did they say? That left 86% of black men that voted for Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, I mean, I think at that point people were less in the race, and more so than anything. Black people was just bailing out because at that point, that had started the whole. Well, that was around the start of the we need tangibles. So black people started actually asking for specifics for us,
All right.
and a lot of people started bailing out.
Okay. All right. Well, let me ask you this: if Biden win, is it bad for black men? If Biden wins,
Let me say this: I feel more comfortable with my races out in the open. Biden is a man who's got on TV and told people he was with civil rights leaders. He marched for civil rights. He did things for civil rights while in the 90s making crime bills that was targeting black people. Uh, it. They say it's the lesser of two evil things. However, my thing is if you can see your enemy coming, you're able to better prepare for
hmm yeah, yeah. I remember that we were talking earlier, and I was telling you about this older man I was talking to, and
it.
and I was basically saying that I was telling him that both guys are racist. Why are we voting for him? And he said that the reason why he goes with Joe Biden is because Joe Biden got on TV and said that he was sorry for all that stuff he did, and it took a real man to admit that he was sorry about all of that awful stuff. Okay, why do we accept apologies after all the damage has already been done?
This was an older black man. That was the part that I didn't ever ask. This is an older black man who
It
said
was
that
an
shit, right?
older black man. This
How
man
how old
appeared,
would you guess?
my guess would be mid 70s.
Yeah, so he was part of the generation that was giving up.
They was giving a, oh, we'll settle, just let us live. Give us
Yeah,
a little something, you know.
yeah. They just want to hear any old thing to justify the little coon heart, the little coon on their shoulder telling them it's okay, boss. Yes, sir. Oh, he said I'm sorry.
Well, I don't know about exactly about calling, them that because those people don't they if they're more ignorant than and ignorance is just a strong word to use. It's a very insensitive word to use. But if they are more ignorant than actually, buck dancing like that, then can you really blame them, or you feel like those people have just, they know what's going on,
They're
and,
defeated. They're
and
defeated. They're
you know,
from the era. Remember, if he's 70, he's from the era where ass whoopings by white people was a thing that you couldn't really do nothing about. He's from the era where they put dogs on you. He's from the era where you can't go here. So imagine being in a time frame. Imagine going to a restaurant now in this time and age, and they say, "Hey, listen, black people got to go to the back, or black people got to do this." You would lose your shit, wouldn't you? You would feel some type of way. So for you to go through all of that, live your life, see all the shit that's going on now, and then you see a person that you know is a confirmed white supremacist, a confirmed history of harming and doing things to black people, and they said, "I'm sorry." Would you would you even consider that apology?
no, I wouldn't at all.
So
Like
that's
I
why I call that man a coon.
like I said, I was talking about George Wallace. George Wallace stood in front of, it was, and like I say, it was either University of Alabama or Auburn University, and wouldn't let black kids in. When he was in a wheelchair, he walked to a black church and apologized and said he was sorry. That was good enough for black people.
Yeah. And
Uh,
there's too many issues where black people have the little coon spirit, where they hear an apology, they hear "I'm sorry," and they forgive and forget. The day of forgive and forget is over with. That's just what it is at this point. The day of forgive and forget is over with. It's too many black people being shot out in the streets and niggas going up and hugging their killers. The black man who just got killed in Philadelphia. They just said released a statement saying that they didn't want anything to happen to the police officers. There's too many cones out here. You can't keep forgiving these people for the atrocities that they commit because they will continue to do so. It's easier to ask for forgiveness than forgive, right? I'm not gonna try me. Can't go for it.
Okay, now let's not get too far off the subject matter. Let's we got into politics, and I'm not here in this broadcast right now to be against black men. I'm not. I'm not. Also, I am not going to use the both logic. I'm not going to do that. You know what both logic is, right? Both men and women got problems. Both men and women need to do this. Both men and both logic is just a straw man from the actual problem. It's to make sure that it's like no matter what the other side does, we look just as bad as them. You know. But the subject matter is the rules of engagement, the infamous gender war. The reason why I say rules of engagement is because they relegate black men to a certain number of rules when we are in these conversations. And as far as I am concerned, black men should not have to follow any of those social rules. So, what up, Donnie? What do you think?
I mean, it's basically a boxing match, and because she's a girl, you got to put both hands behind your back. Now, how are
Mm-hmm.
you supposed to win a boxing match with both hands behind your back? There's a whole set of rules in place. Ultimately, with the mindset of just sit and take it. I'm really tired of women running the narratives that they run, and it's sad, but it's based on the households that we live in. There's too many households where it's women run, so they become accustomed to that, and maybe it's just the essence of a man, but it drives these women up a wall to where you can't do anything right. I'm tired of it.
Mm. It's starting to wear down on me. I have to admit it. And there's some. I understand that there at least has to be some kind of discussion, or you know, we have to be able to deal with it. Learn how to deal with it in a sensible way, or it's gonna spiral out of control. Because I know that I have a tendency to troll sometime and drag people down the rabbit hole. But really, honestly, a lot of that shit really isn't funny anymore.
Well,
It ain't like observing black men get it shitted on for like the most just the dumbest things has ever been real funny, unless the guys deserved it. But it's getting to a ridiculous point. Period.
I think the dynamic is completely shifted because you got to think 40, 50 years ago, this wasn't even a possibility. Could you imagine getting into an argument with a woman in the street and she calling you out your name, standing up on you, doing all kind of crazy shit on you, trying to silence you? That's not a thing that took place. I think that really, what in the '60s she would have been stale. In the '70s, she probably would have been slapped. Uh, for what, hysteria? Isn't that what they called it? The hysteria correcting slap. And I'm not advocating harm or abuse or anything like that. But my point is when did it become so natural for these women to be so disrespectful?
It's been like that for a long time. Yeah, I mean, and it really did start from okay. I'm gonna put it like this: the idiot box, television, television. Like people underestimate the idiot box. People don't understand that if you repeat something over and over and over again, then people are going to start believing it. You know, like,
Right.
and one thing that the idiot boxes had some really big power on until like the internet became really huge was the image of people. Um, when they separated the black family using welfare, they used to they was talking about they used to use projects as experiments. They used to have one television station. Like they have a television in each apartment with one television station. I may have the details wrong, and I may be like kind of being vague about the details, but what they used to do was play nothing but news and white family television programming. What they did was they let you know that their lives were so great and they always looked so happy that you will never attain that as a black person. And the fact and what started to happen was a lot of resentment started to build. They
Yeah,
looked
that sounds like a form of psychological warfare.
yeah, they let themselves know they lived in such poor ass conditions that you know that they started to resent themselves for it. They would never touch that kind of happiness, and they started to resent a lot of black men for it too. Like some people say that black men voluntarily left the home. They say a lot of people say that black women voluntarily chose government aid and assistance over you know having a black man in the house. Which one is more accurate, Donnie?
Well, to be honest with you, it sounds utterly stupid, but it's the excuse of choice for a lot of feminist and crazy ass black women, as Edward would say, the gynocracy, to
Mhm.
say, "Oh, well, you black men, you just left the house. So you telling me niggas just got up and abandoned the house and did what? Went into the street to be homeless? Doesn't make sense."
Yeah. Yeah, that's what they want all of us to believe. That black men just said, "Hey, fuck you. She's pregnant. I'm gone." You know, that's what they want. They want you to believe that all black men did that. That all black men are naturally unequipped to be fathers. And it's stupid when the stats, even today's stats, shows that black men are the most involved fathers. Oh, that's a stat they resent. You ever heard them say that though?
Yes, the black men are the most involved fathers. They spend more time with their kids. They read to their kids. They spend actual legitimate time with their children. But to even go to your point a little bit further, you look at the stats again. It's an unbalanced number of black men having kids versus black women, right? So you
Mm-hmm.
have what is it? Less than 51% having kids.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, you have upwards of 60s. No, it's 70 something percent, 71, 72% or something like that of black women having kids. The majority of men do not have kids out of wedlock. That's just the facts. Women outnumber us. So how is it that women outnumber us and all these black men are not having children, but all you black women have kids? Are
Mm-hmm.
you lining up for dudes who just want to be deadbeat dads? Why are you doing this? Because the system lets you live off of it if you have a child. How many benefits do you get for having a kid? Let's see, you get housing, you get food, you get cash assistance. You want to go be educated, the most educated, you can go get you a grant. You can get a whole bunch of extenuating circumstances, scholarships, and put yourself through school while living on government assistance. There's a
Right.
popular woman who got her law degree. Did you see that she got like 7 kids?
Oh yeah, and everybody was congratulating her, big upping her,
Do you know how
everything.
she got that degree?
How did she get it?
Food stamps, government assistance, and grants.
Yeah, because that was some Obama era decisions, weren't it? Like like give these single mothers grants to college, right?
Right. There's a lot of come ups for having kids out of
Mhm.
wedlock. So as a woman, there's benefits to have being a single mother. As a
Mhm.
man, there's punishments for being a single father.
Mm. Oh yeah, there's punishments for being a single father. I mean, there's punishments for getting a girl pregnant out of wedlock. They definitely exist for men. You are penalized. However, she is rewarded for having kids by multiple guys, and you can't tell me that women aren't. Like, you get the right to sue for child support. You can apply for all kinds of government assistance. You can apply for food stamps. You get free education, just like Donnie just got through saying.
I'll take it a step further. There's only one other group of people in the United States who pretty much are free of and devoid of like immediate consequences. That's white men.
Mm,
Meaning black women do not face immediate consequences to their actions unless they're bothering or messing with a white man. But think
mm,
about it. If they mess with a black man, consequences are immediate. Having kids, kids might find out at 18, 19, 20, mama ain't shit. Later on down the road, mama ain't shit. But there's no real consequences for them being pregnant.
mm. None. The only consequences are levied on their children. Here's what a part of this gender war is about. Guys point that shit out. Like how irresponsible they are with their children, despite the fact they get all these perks.
Well, Kev, it takes two.
Oh, it takes two. He takes two. He should have wore a condom. I was like, wow, there's STDs, right? And I mean, it's
What,
just, and it's just, and the thing is, it's just going with a dumb logic. It's going with a dumb logic. You're supposed to go with it.
what's always killed me is I've always brought this up. It's her body, her choice. If it's your body and it's your choice, why is it not 100% your fault, right? If you were able to go out and go give an abortion, why are men not allowed to give a financial abortion to the situation? I can guarantee that if two things occurred, if you made it to where men could financially abort their children, they would, and women would decrease on the amount of child support that they would do, or not child support, I'm sorry, the amount of children that they have. The other thing is, if you stopped incentivizing having these children, women would decrease in having these children. Women are going out doing it knowing that they can do that they have a safety net. Remember, and hell, when I was growing up, I remember seeing a girl across the street and she looked pregnant. And my mother told me, don't you hang out with that girl. Stay away from that girl. Grandma and grandpa used to send the girls off to go live with the auntie in the country for a while and they come back with a new cousin. When does it become why when does it become standardized that you can go ahead and have a baby at 15 and everybody throw you a baby shower?
Is is to the end to supply the black. I mean, to supply the prison system, with more inmates, so they can be fed to the prison industrial complex. Well, they make shoestrings for tennis shoes for 2 cents an hour, and a possible pack of cigarettes around the holidays. That's
So
why they big up. They have all these praise programs, all these struggle narratives. Oh my God, it's so hard for her being a single mother in this world. And they get and what they do is they desensitize society to feel sorry for these girls, and they keep having babies. They keep having babies. They keep giving all these government perks just so their babies can end up in prison, or either if they're girls, produce more of these babies.
so basically what you're telling me is that white people are so cold that they figured out how to re-enslave and make these girls breeders again.
Yes, and I'm going to say this, and I might get in trouble. That's why they pushing all this alphabet stuff. The one fear that a lot of young black males had growing up is going to prison and getting their what's taken from them, getting raped, getting prison raped. That really kept a lot of young black men on the straight and narrow. Like that was it. They didn't want to get taken advantage of like that. And we do treat our male prison population like they're throwaways. So those kinds of issues are swept under the rug. Things like mistreatment, maltreatment, rape, like in prison. They don't care about your black ass. All they want you to do is clean them roads, make them shoestrings, press them license plates. That's it. You're going to live in meager conditions because, according to society, because you went to prison for whatever fucking reason, you deserve it. You deserve it. Now, what if the guys weren't afraid of being raped anymore?
Uh, I don't quite that's that
Do you think that's
that's a
kind of
weird.
heavy?
I
It's weird.
Yeah,
It's weird.
it's a,
It's weird. But what I'm trying to say is, what if they weren't afraid to go to jail? Is
a lot of niggas
that's
aren't
I
afraid to
mean,
go to jail. Because I'll say this,
I'm saying,
I
but
don't.
I know for me though, for me and for a lot of guys, and it's like I would not have allowed that to happen to me, but I know what we like, what a lot of guys were talking about. They were afraid to go to jail just based on being tried like that. You know, I told I'm going to end up in solitary. That's all I rather not go to jail. I'm going to end up in solitary. Nobody ain't taking that shit from me at all. I don't care
So
how many it is. You're gonna have to kill me or put me in solitary. Period. But I rather not go through that. But what I'm saying is for the weaker mind. Now I know that probably sounds a little crazy to you, but they're doing this any way they can. They're fucking with our people any way they can.
so I don't. I'm not quite sure. I know anybody who was afraid of going to jail over rape. Maybe as a younger kid. I think the time frame and the impact that it causes thereafter, right? So if you typically when you go to jail, you come out you can't go to prison without having a felony, right? So a
Yeah.
felony is going to inhibit you via job, a place of residence. Like you can't stay in certain apartments. It limits your options in
Let me
life,
put it
right?
like this. Let me put it like this. Let me use the media again. Let me use the media again. And hopefully this helps me clean this up. Remember the movie House Party when Kid went to jail?
uh, no, I'm
You don't
sure.
remember when Kid went to jail in House Party? The
Nah,
first House
refresh.
Party. That is a classic ass film. I don't. But the one thing that the prisoners were gonna do to him in a city jail, and it never made sense to me, was take his booty from
Yeah, they
him.
made that
That
a
like
spiritual thing.
yeah, that was the narrative back then when I was a kid. That was the
So
narrative.
you said in the '80s they was talking about taking your booty from you, huh?
That's what they were talking about in the 80s. Like not I mean just as far as prison goes. As far as prison goes, the implication and the comedic narrative was that when you go to prison, that's what they were going to do to you. And I think that comedians use it as a way to try to keep young men on the straight and narrow. It was
Mm.
it was heavily talked about. It was joked about whenever men going to prison was brought up. It was always about prison rape. It was always about men like some kind of alphabet undertone, just like the whole shaming tactic of today. If you argue with women, you I don't know, you gay. If you went to prison back then, it was a narrative in the 80s. You something must have happened to you, or somebody must have tried you at some point. The other prison narrative, of course, is tattoo. They're dangerous. They were crazy motherfuckers. That's why they locked them up.
Well, so I think the whole gay thing comes back, if I'm not mistaken, right? The whole gay
Mm-hmm.
narrative comes from the buck breaking that they did back in slavery.
Yeah. Okay.
So I know when they was buck breaking people that that's a traumatic experience. It does a lot to the culture. It's a shock to the system.
Yeah.
So if you're thinking about it from a historical standpoint, you have a black man getting held down, raped by a white man, and the rest of the plantation sees it later on. When some shit comes up between a woman who's more or less been trained to be vicious, right?
Yeah.
The slave masters all often made these women the leaders and made them the mammy archetype. So some shit pop off and you get mouthy with the mammy, what's she gonna say to you? You a faggot. Oh yeah, you like dick in the booty. And that's a harmful thing. So that's probably carried down through the ages. I know that's why Jamaica is so messed up, because Jamaica was a big spot for that. So
Mm.
when you have gay people in Jamaica, they typically get ousted out of the community, or they're beaten and killed, whatever the case is. I know they have like whole sections where gay people live in like on the side of a river in like I can't even think of what it's called, but yeah, it's crazy down there under bridges and shit.
Mm. Mm.
I think it's a lot of trauma that we have suffered through the ages that is carried down and become just commonplace. Because what the first thing you do when you irritate a black, or the first thing that happens when you irritate a black woman is what? She calls you a homosexual in some way, shape, or form.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. He said, "Why don't y'all just hop on dick?" They say every fucking thing. And that's a big one right there. And you know the funny thing about it, when alphabet people are present, especially alphabet black men are present, when they do that, they say nothing at all. It's
They
like they're weaponizing your lifestyle to use against black men who are simply speaking an opinion. But shout out to Cortez Smith.
One side of the coin is you are gay, you're problematic, right? And
Yeah.
then the other side of the coin is you cisgendered males.
Oh yeah, toxic
What?
masculinity.
So which is it? I'm a gay man or I'm toxically masculine?
Yeah, and toxic masculinity is a shaming tactic. Is actually like is a bad thing to be masculine. You know, if you're too masculine, then it can become toxic. Toxic. I've said this before. I said toxic masculinity. Masculinity is only toxic with females. You know, it doesn't. Masculinity does not look right on females, and whatever area of masculine female is in, it looks like that she is going to mess it up. She's going to mess up the whole mood, the whole environment. It doesn't make any damn sense at all. You know.
Because they don't have an idea of what masculinity is really, right? So
Yeah.
as a man, as hell as a father, right? I have to train my son in what being a man is. As a woman, she gives an idea of what a man is. So I remember being, and I'm 6'1", 220 something pounds at the time, and I'm on a cruise, and this girl is talking to me. She has a stud boyfriend. The stud boyfriend is probably 5'3" and trying to fight. Now, does that make sense?
No, not at all.
But I feel like that's an example of toxic masculinity because if the shoe was on the other foot, my son was out, or if I was out and a girl that I was dating or seeing or talking to is talking to another man, I'm not going to get mad at that man. My problem is going to be with her. So you're gonna disrespect me like that? Cool. You go ahead and stay with that nigga, and I'm gonna replace you. That's the difference between a man's reaction and an effeminate man's reaction, or a toxic masculine woman.
Hmm. Okay. Oh, okay. So Donnie dropped off, and he explained, what the toxicity in women. But let me. Oh, there he's back. He's back. So maybe he had more to say, but
Yeah, but yeah. So what I was saying was, yeah, these are the things that you learn growing up as a man because you have consequences for your actions.
yeah,
Largely, if you do something, you get popped in the mouth once, twice, you realize maybe this ain't the lick, right? But as a woman, nobody's punching you in the mouth. Nobody's checking you the way that you're supposed to be checked. So you have an idea of what masculinity is, and you take it too far, and then it becomes toxic. That's what toxic masculinity is.
yeah. Then let me segue to something else. Uh, no matter what her position is or what she's trying to do or what she's trying to say, if you snap off and punch her in the mouth, she's going to default to woman. She's going to default to it. I'm not saying that it's right to hit women because it's not, but a lot of the time these females try you because they know you can't hit them. That's why you see a lot of these videos out on social media where these women are jumping in these dudes' faces. They sticking their finger in his forehead. They mushing him in the face. And the one thing that I do notice is that um, everybody in the area is either not doing anything or they're laughing at the dude.
They think it's
Or
funny.
they think it's funny. They're saying, "Ooh, man, goddamn." But here's what happens. The second you bat your eye at her, they're rushing you. Oh man, calm down. Enough, dog, man. Come on, come on, come on. Why does no one ever go to that female and say, hey, miss, hey, ma'am, you need to calm down. You need to calm. You're acting uncouth. Even checking her on her behavior. Why doesn't no one ever check her on her behavior?
Because we have this weird and strange, very strange belief that women are untouchable. And I've seen it on, okay, prime example. Remember the 8 ball jacket?
Man, the slap heard around the world. Yeah.
So if you watch that, because I love that video, it's so funny to me. But the slap her around the world. So those women are on the train and probably subway in New York, and they are just being loud, obnoxious, very boisterous young ladies. Or they're not behaving in a young lady fashion, right? At some point, they are messing with this man with the 8 ball jacket.
Okay, hold
He's
that thought, Dunny. Hold that thought. Cortez Smith was just referencing to what you were talking about. I shit you not. A black woman just used a gay shaming tactic to a man in front of me. Literally, a angry black woman called a man a dick in the booty ass nigga.
mm,
Like,
mm, mm.
mm.
It's a shame. But yeah, basically, she hit that man with a shoe. He turned around and smacked fire out of her ass, as he should have. He
Right.
smacked fire out of her ass.
Yeah, he laid his whole hand on the side of her face. And
Right.
I didn't feel sorry for her at all. But previous to that, she and two other girls were just talking all this shit, putting hands in faces, hitting dudes. Like, dude coordinated with his cell phone. Girl walks up, slaps the phone out of his hand.
I'd have popped in her mouth.
Like, just nobody was doing anything. None of the guys jumped up and say, well, I think guys were like, like a guy said something and then she went over and smacked him or something like that. But then she brought that shit, the 8 ball jacket.
8 ball jacket tried to walk away too. That was the crazy part. He tried to leave the situation just because. And mind you, these women are probably 5'6", 5'5". 8 ball jacket was like 6'4", 6'5". This was like his head was almost hitting the top of the subway. Like he wasn't a little dude by any stretch of the imagination, which is hilarious to me because it reminds me of my pit bull. My pit bull's 130 pounds. My little sister has a miniature little mini dog, and she's barking at him all the time. Why would you do this? This doesn't make sense. But the chick has the nerve to hit this man over the head with a shoe, and I don't think that she was ready for the consequences, or she thought that there wasn't going to be a consequence.
They're trained to think that there's not supposed to be any consequences.
Right.
I will tell. I'm going to raise my daughter. Look, don't be just going around trying folks because you think something is not supposed to happen. Everybody isn't raised with the same ethic. Daddy
No.
doesn't want to have to kill anyone. So
No.
just I'm not victim blaming, trying to victim blame. I'm just saying, go through life with a little common goddamn sense. Sometimes it's not worth it. It really isn't. It's like okay, you can say I'm being sexist all you want, and I do understand that there are women out there that can actually beat up men, but that motherfucker can be 5'4", she can be 6'8". If he beats her ass, he will be ostracized.
Yeah, it's few and far between. But the thing about that video was, as soon as he hit that girl, it was a dude in his seat who watched him get hit in the head, who watched them girls harass everybody. This nigga had nothing to do with them women. He jumped up to fight that man.
Yeah, he jumped up. Yeah, he's going to be like one of these guys that we're going to talk about tomorrow night. Oh yeah, and for the audience, I am the Weekend Warrior. I go on every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday night. And tomorrow night's discussion will be she doesn't like the simp in you. Basically, I'm going to establish that simping is absolutely for nothing. But that's tomorrow night's discussion. That guy was a simp. He should, if he was any kind of guy, he would have jumped up when them girls would have just like slapping dudes. But see, you know what would have happened to him? they would have jumped on, started slapping him, because that's how aggressive those females were acting, and that's that toxic masculinity. Even though they're not butch females, they were seriously masculine.
Yeah, they were the what everybody talks about when they talk about New York chicks. they, they walk, yo, son, hey, yo,
Yeah.
extra masculine women. But yeah, no, that whole narrative, I don't know. And then what also kills me is they run around with this behavior and have the nerve to say that they are not protected.
I'm like, I mean, it's not protection is not an issue when you're aggressive. Let me put it like that. When you're aggressive and when you're starting shit, actually, at that point, the person on the other side is trying to protect themselves from you. So, I mean, and then this whole protection thing, that's just a, I'm sorry, y'all, that's just a bullshit excuse. Number one, every black man that has a black woman to protect is probably in their family. So and I tell females this, if you can't find a black man to protect you, that means that you clearly haven't aligned yourself with a black man. People are not supposed to go around protecting complete strangers from me. We can't protect you from yourself.
The majority of women in these crazy positions go beyond a man's protection. My mind flashes back to the black woman who was in Texas and she got into an altercation with a white man in a truck. She got out and the white man pulled his gun out on her ass.
Hmm. Well, once you start to approach people, then that the other person does not know what you're going to do to them or what you got on you. I mean,
Correct.
you know, you can be have the appearance of a small, frail woman, but you also could have a gun hidden on your person as well.
Yeah, she got out with the rah rah. She went beyond what any man could have done to protect her and went to be aggressive. At that point, you put yourself out of the zone of a lady and then you put yourself into the zone of a man.
Hmm.
Realistically, I hate to see situations like that, but that man had every right to be like, "Bitch, what you? Get up on out of here." And I think she got on TV and was like, "Black women ain't protected," along with various other women who screamed, "Black women are protected" after going out and being aggressive animals.
Black women aren't protected. You aren't protected because you put yourselves in positions to where you can't be protected. You can't expect a complete stranger to protect you. Like April Mason a few months ago. Y'all gotta start walking these girls to their cars. No, their problem actually they say that guys that follow them around are the problem. you know, I mean, shit. And then like, if say you do walk them to your car, they're gonna think you're trying to get their number. And I mean, like, if you're a single man, you're free to do that, shoot your shot. But nobody, especially any man with a family or any man any black man really, they shouldn't have to go around to protecting complete strangers. You can say I'm victim blaming, but you're supposed to exercise a little common sense when you step out there on your own. But you cannot ask someone to unfairly put themselves at risk because you feel like because you're a black woman and black women are the most unprotected, that you could just fly into a situation where you are severely outmatched.
Let me tell you, you can't even help black women 90% of the time. There's been so many occasions where I have offered help because there's a little at the time there was a sliver of, oh, what if something happens to her? Right. For instance, I remember being on a cruise, and on the cruise, you have a dance floor and a club and all this, and you can walk back and forth to the deck and everything else. So I remember smoking and going back and forth between the club and the cruise, the top of the deck. And I remember going outside of the club at one point, and it was a black girl, drunk as hell, on the couch, just laying there. And the security were all around her, just watching. I said, "Why are you watching this black girl, or this woman just laid here?" Well, she's doing her thing. We're not to interfere. What kind of shit is this? Get her back to her room. No, we're not going to interfere. So I go ask the girl, like, "Are you okay? Do you need help getting back to your room?" Do you know she told me, nigga, I'm not trying to mess with you. Nigga, I'm trying to get you out of the middle of the cruise area, drunk as hell on the floor, looking crazy. Do you want to go to your room? Just no, I'm good. Get away. I don't need your help.
Mm, mm, mm.
Now, granted, you could say it's because she was wasted, she was intoxicated, or whatever the case is. But this is just a part of the mentality. I've never been so drunk in my life that if I was in a bad situation and somebody tried to help me, I've been on some rude, ignorant shit to them.
Mm, mm. Yeah, I mean, yeah. So basically, at that point, yeah, I don't know if it would have got this far at me. I left her there. You probably did leave it, end up leaving her there.
Oh no, yeah, I strolled on, went on about my day. I walked past her two or three more times that night. Didn't have a concern in the world. Seen her ass the next day and kept strolling. Um,
Yeah. I don't believe in interjecting myself into, I would say, situations where a woman is being abused. Now, of course, if I'm related to her and we share blood, then yeah, that guy doesn't have a chance. But if you are a friend, and the only thing that I can do is advise you, because if you choose to keep going around that dude, there's nothing I can do to protect you. Now, I'm gonna tell you about two times. One time I called the police because, like, dude, like, she was screaming and it sounded like he was throwing around furniture. Sounded like
mm,
he was throwing her around, and then she'll be out next morning, face half swole, smoking a cigarette, acting like she about, in about 10 years she gonna write a novel about all her troubles. So I decided to take it upon myself one night to call the police. I said, "There's a lot of noise going on over there. Sounds like somebody's getting the shit kicked out of them, but it just all it sounds like is furniture being moved. Can you check out and tell them to turn down the noise at least, or keep down the noise?" Yeah. A couple days later, my dad says, "Well, your neighbor hates us. Well, they hate me." I was like, "Dad, what they said?" And this is when I was much younger, like much, much younger. Mr. Naive. No, you shouldn't beat women. And I still believe it. You shouldn't beat women. But that my dad was like, "Well, the neighbor, the girls, there was her and her friend sitting out there. Her friend was like, 'Well, there go your neighbor.' And then she gonna say, 'I ain't got no damn neighbor.'"
mm,
I was like, "Okay, so you like so you like being a punching bag. So fuck you." I mean, I never tried to interject again. That dude was like 5'3". I'm 5'11", a 200-pounder at that time. I ain't give a damn. Period. It was just it was like, look, he's beating your ass. Like, they'll talk to me about battered woman syndrome all day, but it's like, if you choose to stay in that shit, ain't nothing I can do about it. I hope he doesn't kill you. And then, of course, I've talked about this one before. As a coworker of mine, she finally decided to leave her boyfriend because he kind of Ray Riced her. I was like, well, the thing that I told her is, when he did that, you officially became too good for him. So you can take that how you want. And then she was like, "Oh, what should I do? What should I do?" And then I was like, well, don't you should do what's best for you. You should do what's best. You should do what makes you happy. And most of all, make sure he's not involved in that decision. 2 days later, she's back with him, walking around strutting her stuff like she let him have some, which I don't give a damn. Fuck him all you want. But at least I tried. This dude actually used to be like one of my best friends. He wasn't, after I found out what he was doing to her, because I have a code. If you are beating your girl, then
yeah, you can't just be whooping ass and me just be cool with you.
yeah, I'm just cool. I'm like Willie and Nilly. But at the same time, I wasn't finna jump in there and throw blows with him. Like, it's not that I was scared. It's just that if she's gonna decide to be with him and I beat his ass in front of her, she's gonna be in the courtroom when they're charging me with beating that motherfucker ass.
She will. And there's been many occasions where a dude has come in, got into it, and the woman pressed charges on the dude who saved her or made up some story to protect her boyfriend. The shit get it. The shit gets again.
All right. Welcome, Roger, to the show. What's going on?
Oh, what's going on? Going now, I'm only gonna be here for a hot second. I'm actually out here working, trying to get this money. Uh, Man, I just wanted to say because I just heard what Kev was just saying about a woman coming to a man like, what should I do? You know what I found to be a little bit more effective than just telling her, like, because they expect you to say something like, you should leave, you should do this, you should do that. Based on what I've seen, if you say that, she ain't going nowhere. That's really what's gonna happen. Now, I take a different approach. I just say, well, the fact that you asking me, I would, you know what I'm saying? You ain't gonna do nothing no way. He gonna keep beating on you, and you gonna be cool with it. And then they look at me kind of funny, like, why would you say something like that? And they usually ask a question like, why would you say something like that? Or what are you saying? I'm like, come on now, I done seen this way too many times. He's just the latest dude doing it. You're a woman. You coming at me. You already trying to find excuses not to leave the dude. So just go on. You know what I'm saying? So just when you taking your beating, just what I'm saying. I just hope it's worth it to you. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what he got. Maybe he got some money. Maybe the dick is good. I can't tell you about all that. Just for you to figure out, is it worth what you're going through? So since you're gonna take the whooping regardless, just make sure it's worth it. You know what I'm saying? Because you're gonna take the beating anyway. And then she'll look at me real befuddled in most cases. But that will actually make her actually start thinking about her situation. I don't tell them to leave because they ain't gonna leave no way. And they're really looking for an excuse not to leave. And the only reason they talking to somebody else is to try to find a legitimate reason on why they shouldn't leave. What I do is just be totally indifferent about it. So they will actually have to examine their situation. So I just say, man, I hope it's worth it because I already see you asking me. You ain't gonna go nowhere anyway. So ain't no point in me giving you no advice.
Yeah, but we get blamed, however, for not protecting them because they decide to be in these trouble situations.
Yeah, they don't need no protection. You can't be you. How do you need protection if you were a man willing to beat up people, including her?
Or shoot them.
I can't protect
Well, I mean,
you
if
from
you with the guy
yourself.
with the gun, I ain't even finna dip in that. If you're with a man that's willing to fight at random, he don't care nothing about assault charges. You know what I'm saying? He don't care nothing about losing his job. He don't care nothing about how this will negatively impact his life and all that type of stuff. If you with one of those type of men, you're already protected. What more can I do for you? You with a dude that's willing to beat. He willing to beat up anybody who caused a problem because he willing to beat you.
Bad
How much?
Leroy Brown. Baddest man in the
What?
whole damn town. Know what I
Well,
mean?
I'm
Yeah,
just saying.
because
There's a
I
man.
did want to say that it is a misnomer when people be like, when you hit a girl, you a pussy. Listen, I done seen her had conversations with girls and they've been with niggas and niggas have been whooping their ass. Ain't nothing. It usually don't be no pussy about these niggas. These niggas whoop your ass with full knowledge of every consequence that can come with it and be like, what the fuck you gonna do about it?
Well, all my thing is, I'm not gonna lie and say it ain't some men who will beat on a woman that ain't gonna uh, get into it with a man. But the question is, you don't know which one. You don't know which one it is. You
Shit.
can't. You can't find that. No, I'm saying you can't find that out until the confrontation happens.
Until the
You see what I'm
confrontation
saying?
happens. But I've heard plenty of stories of niggas who, they out of jail, they whooping your ass. So they not afraid because they motherfuckers will go to jail, right? And then I've heard stories of uh actually it's terrible, but uh, my homeboy, his sister got beat up. He went over there to go get with dude, and dude fucked him up.
Hey, my
So
thing
he
is
called
sometimes that's gonna happen. Sometimes that's gonna happen. But my point is, it doesn't make a difference. You're not going to do anything anyway. The fact that the woman is bringing the question to me has already confirmed she ain't gonna do nothing no way. So I just tell her, I just tell her exactly what it is. Look, you ain't gonna listen to me no way, so I just hope the beating is working. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just leave it in her hands. You know what I'm
All
saying?
right. All right, everyone. And make sure. Okay, we got 9 watching, and we got 21 likes. So I hope all 9 of you watching, one of those likes are yours. But if you haven't, press that like button. And the subject matter is rules of engagement, the infamous gender war. Really, the title implies that black men are supposed to approach this quote unquote gender war with a certain set of rules of conduct that are forced on us, or we are subject to many, many, many shaming tactics. Yeah.
Well, all that is true, and women will try to shame you for not stepping in a situation where a man is beating on a woman. But my rule is this: because I will protect a random woman, but I'm not going to protect her from a man she's sleeping with. If she's having sex with the man, then my protection is not necessary. She's
So,
already made her decision.
so if you seen a random get beat up in the street, then you're gonna go in the phone booth and make sure you got your nunchucks in your black backpack. And
No. What I'm saying is, if something happens right there in front of me and I'm in distance to do something about it, sure, I'll give the woman aid and assist. But think about it realistically. What woman gets into it with somebody that ain't her man?
yeah, I got
Yeah, yeah. So it ain't gonna really come up. If it come up in front of me, I'll do something. But the chances of it coming up in front of me is just about zero. Every chick that I've ever seen get into it with somebody since, you know what I'm saying, for the last decade, it's been the dude she's sleeping with. And if she having sex with the man, why would I, who am I to tell them how to run their relationship?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because love is love, That's the message
Yeah.
that's the message that we push,
Yeah.
which makes me segue into another facet of the gender war. Yeah, we like white women supposedly, and because of that, we have sold out our race. We have we betrayed. We want to breed ourselves out of existence. Here's one part of the gender war that is so hypocritical. It's obvious, but people have a hard time admitting it, except for thinking black men like us. Okay. Black men are treated like traitors when we date out, but black women are actually socially rewarded when they date out.
That's pretty true.
Meaning that they are praised. And a lot of black men with that black man survivor's guilt feel actually guilty because the women had to go outside of the race for happiness. Thinking black men, we don't give a shit. We do what we want anyway. And we don't actually care if you date out. But when you, and like I said before, I've said this before in another video, I only care when you start shitting on black men. Then you're going to be a bad witch. But if you happy with who you're with, then I ain't got no problem with your happiness. But I know a lot of black people do. But the narratives are always pointed at black men who date white women. They say that we date, fat white women. Big fat motherfucker, that we think that that's going to spare us from white supremacy if we date out.
Man, that's
but that
bro,
never,
that's the
but that
Can
never.
I say something about that real quick?
Go ahead.
I just want to say something about that real quick. That's got to be one of the dumbest things I've ever heard women say. I've literally heard that y'all want to get a white woman because y'all trying to get past white supremacy. One of the main things about white supremacy is a black man is never supposed to touch a white woman. That's one of the main constants of white supremacy. Yet they'll say something that stupid. You're talking to an incredibly stupid person, or a person who's choosing to be incredibly stupid, at that point to even come up with. That's the very basis of, it's the foundation of white supremacy. You cannot be involve yourself in white supremacy but be okay with a black man sleeping with white women, because that doesn't make white babies. It's the very foundation of white supremacy.
Yeah, they're not going to leave their women to come chase after you for real, for real. It's like in the case of Eve. Like even I think even in the case of Kamala Harris, those are not Kamala Harris's kids. That man already had those kids, right?
No, no, it don't make a difference when it's a man. The man can sleep with whoever he wants, but you can't give a white womb to a black seed because that doesn't produce white babies. Men are the rulers. So, and the only thing you're gonna do when it comes to white supremacy as a black man by sleeping with a white woman is put a target on your back. You put an extra target on your back because you already got a target on your back because you ain't white in the first place. But that's the only thing you can achieve by sleeping with a white woman. Who's gonna go to a corporate office and say, "Yeah, you know what? I'm trying to make deals in this particular company, so let me start sleeping with a white woman that I know don't none of these men want me with their daughters, don't none of these men want me with their cousins and all that. I'm gonna go grab a white woman so I can remind you that if I ever get a chance to meet your wife, your daughter, you know what I'm saying, your neighbor, your whatever, I'm dicking her down as best I can." That's literally what I want to tell a white supremacist. No, that's stupid. It's like the dumbest thing I've ever heard black women say trying to defend their own foolishness.
No, you remember that's the basis for all of these black men being incarcerated, lynched, and everything else. These white women was liking these black men, and when they would get caught, what was it? Oh, you couldn't have chose to have sex with this nigga. He must have raped you.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
for, yeah,
I
so
got to
for them
rotate,
to say
fellas,
that,
so
all
I'll
right,
catch y'all later.
do you think? Yeah, so for them to say that shit, that's insane to me. That's absolutely insane. The other thing that they do is you go get a fat white woman. Well, most of these bitches is fat.
The ones that say it, the ones that be saying it ain't got no damn profile picture. It's like,
They
okay,
they
but since you want to say that, make me appreciate your blackness. Don't be ashamed, sister. Show it. They be bad built. They be like a tremendous. I would just say a tremendous amount of weight. And I mean, it's like this. Even though you say that they kick up the fat white women, the strength of you being black is supposed to be enough. So why would you be ashamed to show yourself? Unless you're just a person that wants to cause discord. You're bitter because the real
they go for
world
they go for the
looks at
discord.
you a certain way. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, they go for the discord. That's what they do. That's what they're accustomed to saying. I've seen the ones with the profile pic. It be big bitches talking about some. You got a fat white woman. What nigga? What are you? So if the nigga would have got with you, he would have had a fat black woman, and you got white woman style hair. So at this
So
point,
what's your problem?
he might as well get the real thing.
Can't say nothing about their hair though. Oh yeah, that's another. We can't talk about we can't talk about how they look. We might as well. That's another little alphabet shaming tactic that they use. It's like if we don't prefer, if we don't take them as they are, basically.
As a
If we
black man, you can't say your hair looks crazy. I don't know what kind of man is concerned about a hair. A man that wants to fuck women? What are you talking about? It's some dummy shit. Oh, well, why are you concerned about what I got on, nigga? Because I what? What? So when you date motherfuckers, do they just look at you and say, "Hey, are you a woman? Yes, we can have sex. I don't concern myself with any other thing." Like, bitch, what?
man, like they might as well just do phone interviews. Those little chat line commercials. They might well just do that because it like how in the hell you're ever gonna figure that you're gonna be in a universe where men don't care about looks?
It's
Like
foolishness.
how is that? How, how
Absolute foolishness.
how is that? I give an example. Lizzo.
No,
Lizzo.
God.
Lizzo wants men to accept her for all her bigness. Bigly, like Trump says. All her girth, all her size, but she wants to date in shape men. She feels like she deserves an in shape man. That's why I don't go for that fat acceptance BS, because fat acceptance ain't for men. I mean, and I'm not saying it should be for men. I mean, let's keep ourselves in shape, fellas. You know, black men do die. Like I've had 3 friends pass in the past year because of, and they were young guys, because of health. So you know, well, I never will promote fat acceptance with black men. But when I've said that about Lizzo, I'm talking about the hypocrisy of it. It goes back to what I was saying. They want you with this "take me as I am" BS, and if you don't accept it, you must be gay. You
Yeah,
know,
you're a monster.
or your dick little. You know.
And these are the same women who, if they see Rick Ross with their shirt off, got something to say. These are the same women who will look at a big man and be like, "Nigga, why would I want you?" Ugh, and got everything to say. So you are to be loved unconditionally. Bad attitude, crazy hair, uh, morbidly obese. But if a man dares has any imperfection, nigga, how dare you talk to me or look my direction?
I'll tell you what. I would judge looks regardless. Everybody judges everybody. People playing a high body role are fake to me because they judge people too. You shouldn't be judging nobody. No, get away from me with that. That virtue signaling crap. Like it's like we say stuff like we say stuff like accept people for who they are. But this whole social justice movement has completely pooped on that. People can make all the alterations and changes that they want, but you have to accept people for who they are. No, the fuck you don't. Go with your preferences. Go with your gut instinct, because that's what's causing all this chaos. People aren't allowed to go with their guts anymore. They're not allowed to. You got to accept bullshit.
I
I
also
mean,
think
whether you like it or not, you're going to get judged, period. And black men, we know that we can't live a fucking day without getting judged.
I also want to bring up the double standard of it, right? These are the same women who are saying that they should be loved for being big, for body image, yada yada yada, but they are constantly and consistently dying on these operating tables for what? Big asses, big lips, breast surgery, to get their tummy tuck, all this shit. They're willing to die to look a certain way, but we shouldn't judge them for them looking a certain way.
No, you're always gonna get like you're gonna find out the truth one way or another out my mouth, or how I act toward you, or other things. You're gonna find out the truth one way or another. It might as well be by my mouth and my words. Let's get that sting out the way, because I don't care what anyone says. I have never been spared in the area of judging, and I'm not complaining about it. I'm actually happy about it because it's given me this disposition. you
Mm.
know, like I'm like for real. So everybody who was a hater in my life, thank you. Thank you very much. It has opened my eyes, and I swear to God, the political climate of this particular election has opened my eyes even more. And I know that this is becoming a trendy black man thing. Believe me, it's not trendy. It's something I waited on for years and years to happen. And it's and whether Trump wins or whether Biden wins, black men, we're on our way. Just don't keep in mind, if Biden wins, don't give up. I'll just say it like that. It's black. Ice Cube did say that black people, we can endure anything. People actually twisted that up and said that black people, oh, he just expect black people to put up with anything. I was like, damn.
Yeah,
It's like,
because the narrative has to be made. The narrative has to be set. He's a villain. He's not a friend of black people anymore, right? So at this point, he said something that is very well documented in our culture and our history. We've been in the worst of circumstances and still persevered, right? To a certain degree, we have been undefeated in getting back up, right? We've
Yeah,
gone through the 84 crime bill, the 94 crime bill, the crack era, Iran Contras. We've gone through a whole lot. We are still here. We are
including
still
each other, including
right,
each other.
including each other. So at the end of the day, if if Trump wins, if Biden wins, we will be all right.
Mm. Yeah, we'll be okay. I mean, if Biden wins, though, however, a lot of these black women are going to be on a friggin' high horse because there is a chance that Biden won't make it through his presidency. And then Kamala will, by default, become the first woman president.
Listen, so she could be the first woman president. They've already considered her a black woman, which is hilarious to me because she's
Yeah,
so
it's so hilarious.
and then she tells you, I'm Indian, I'm Indian, and then she might throw in a I'm Indian and Jamaican. Well, nigga, Jamaican, you could be an Asian Jamaican. You can be you could be an Indian Jamaican. What exactly does that mean? Are you trying to tell me that you're black? Won't say it. Won't say it. But she will walk around in Tim's. She will put some hot sauce on, and she will tell you the greatest rapper alive is Tupac.
Yeah, which is directly insulting and pandering. Don't insult me. Don't go on speaking tours explaining your record because what's done is done. What you need to be telling me is what we're gonna do to fix all of this and a solidified plan to keep your promise. That's what Ice Cube tried to come up with. Well, he didn't try to come up with. He came up with it with experts, and people who fit, people who are qualified to write plans like that, you know. And look at where we're at. Our people, and I think most of all it's because it's a black man. I'm not going to avoid that fact anymore. In fact, I never really avoided that fact. That's why I felt like the black man being brutally honest necessitated because of this bullshit. Because black men like Ice Cube have to endure this bullshit. Because of this quote unquote gender war, which is nothing but is a war of one train of thought versus another train of thought because both genders are on both sides. Let's talk about how each gender is treated in this gender stuff. Okay. In this gender war, okay, you have the critical thinking black men who unfortunately share a lot of the same opinion with the weirdos. Instead of thinking about the critical thinking black men to try to have some conversation where you can have proper discord, you're going to lump the critical thinking black men in with the weirdos. The weirdos who are toxic, the weirdos that slide in your DM and say, "Hey, fuck you, bitch. I hope you and your kids die." Those kind of guys. And unfortunately for critical thinking black men, which this should never ever be our fucking fault. It should never be our fucking fault. That's how that's what they do to weaponize canceling you out is they use the weirdos. They'll say these guys are guys, and this is guys like me. Okay, I think I'm one of these guys. I'm not bragging about being a cool guy. I'm not bragging about being a good man. And me being a critical thinker, the jury will always be out on that. I think I am, but hey, you know what? I could be speaking Chinese to you motherfuckers. What I'm talking about that guy, we get treated like shit. We get treated anyway. It's like, okay, if we're not broke, then we like white women. If we're married, now if we're in a relationship with a black woman, then we're gonna get her pregnant and leave. If we're married, then if we're married to a black woman, then it's like you should either shut up or you shouldn't be talking to me because or how could you talk about black women like that because you're married to a black woman? You
There's
know,
also I feel sorry for her. You probably abuse her.
yeah, all of that
There's a
shit.
lot of
I've
projections.
I've heard all of that shit. I've heard all of it by people who don't know me, outside the internet. I've heard all of that. Now, as far as the black woman who stand with the brothers, yeah, And women like Sister George have to go through that. They are treated like with the utmost vitriol from from the majority of the sisterhood. Well, all of the sisterhood, really, because that's what we call those women. The majority of black women and a lot of brothers. They call her a pick me. She's called a pick me. She is she for some reason she she's
Kim,
not has she hasn't been picked yet. She's just doing this for positive male attention. You know,
Kim,
go ahead.
what a pick really means.
Yeah,
So
pick
in my
me.
mind, when I hear the word pick, that's what a bunch of saying.
You're Borging hard, Donnie. You're Borging
Okay,
hard.
break it down. I'm gonna sit back. I'm gonna sit back. Take it. Take the reins.
No, no, no. You're good now. You can hear it now. I can hear you now. Go ahead. Go ahead. Say what you're saying.
All right, you can hear me now.
Yeah.
Cool. So typically, what a pick me is a woman with no man, a woman who can't get a man, who can't keep a man. She may be very attractive. May have men taking her out, sleeping with her, but nobody's going to marry her. Nobody wants to be with her, right? That's a woman who's calling somebody else a pick me because they typically have the characteristics of a woman who are typically saying things like, well, maybe we should check on what's going on with these men. Maybe the man's perspective needs to be looked at. And because they don't stand into the void of a sisterhood failure, they're considered pick me. They want to be chosen by men. To me, the shit sounds insane. You want to be picked. Duh. Shouldn't you want to be picked? No, I would rather be out here alone and running my way through multiple dicks, never getting anything, and then hit 40 and realize I've wasted my life.
You know what? But the first definition of pick me that I ever saw, and this was a few years ago, was a woman who was upset that she wasn't picked. She that it was actually the extreme opposite. She wasn't picked. She was upset and angry that other women got picked besides her. So she wanted to be picked too. So pick
She was
me, pick me,
angry.
pick me.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. Why haven't I been picked? I deserve to be with someone. Pick me, pick me. They have switched that meaning up to the woman who stands up for the black man for instant gratification. It was a projection of the word simp. Yeah. Pick me is a female simp because in this gender war, women will say that they don't respect you. Black women especially will say they don't respect black men, but they'll take all your talking points and all of your ideas. uh, yes, there on Facebook there are groups in existence called Black Women Being Brutally Honest. Because of the existence of black men being brutally honest. So to give you some idea. But the just the whole, okay, they have to have a narrative to the counter the narratives that men put out, even if they are the opposite and they really don't stand on anything, they're going to do it anyway. So the female has to be the female sense of them. That's what they decided to pick me was. And you talk about black women being bashed by black women. They will do it to the extreme. Now, okay, the other side of this. Okay, these are the male archetypes. These are your simps, your white knights, your pookies, your attack dogs. Those guys. They're on the other side of the logic. They they yell at they attack other black men who are simply having an opposing viewpoint to a lot of the bitterness that the sisterhood shows. Uh, they they kind of threaten you. They say little bullshit like, I used to bully niggas like you in high school. No, you didn't. You ain't bully nobody like me in high school. I know. So, it's just they are there squarely to disrupt the conversation no matter what. They don't believe in a thinking black man at all. I believe simps like that are actually jealous of thinking black men. You know, the 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 fact of the matter is I pointed this out to one simp a while back. I told him, you're just upset because these guys that you call yourself hating, these guys who you say didn't get any pussy, they're not getting any pussy. That's why they're telling the truth about these females. Their posts get way more female attention than yours any day. I mean, you may say something about the dudes, but unless dudes start attacking you, you're not going to, get that. And then it shut him up because he realized I was telling the truth. That
It's prime examples. That's a prime example. They say some slick shit, and they don't care anything about these women. These women are all up and down that damn post.
mm, don't care at all. And I mean, they basically do it to start a fight. But at the same time, there's no reward in it because the next archetype, of course, is going to be the bitter sisterhood, and me and you can exchange what characteristics they got. The saddest, most pathetic part about being that guy, the slow tip, the simp, the white knight, the pookie, the baby daddy who supposedly is like they say they fucking all the hoes. The saddest part is when those black women start talking about black men and black men always shitting on us, no matter how big a simps they are. I don't care if it's Derrick Jackson or an Ace Metaphor, a guy like that, they are never acknowledged. They are never acknowledged. They are never rewarded for their service to the gynocracy. They're never, it's never any of that. And they still persist. They still go cause disruption and discord, and they still act like attack dogs because deep down, and I've always said that about these archetypes, they don't want the problem solved. They want to keep the women stupid so they can keep fucking them and getting them pregnant. If the women wised up, then we can start talking about the nuclear family and generational wealth again.
Well,
But
I say it's also another issue added to that. If they did hold them accountable, if they did try to point out and like break the cycle, they would have to hold themselves accountable.
mhm.
Why would you want to do that?
I mean, accountability is the biggest, like one of the biggest issues in the gender war. One of the biggest ones. Accountability. Who is supposed to take accountability for what? The most realist answer you can get is you're supposed to take accountability for yourself. But the problem is when they do, they have to acknowledge that they did all the fucking up. All the shit that they complain about that the other side did online, like all the shit that the women complain about, these niggas ain't shit. If they're self accountability, if you actually start to think about the parts that you are responsible for, then they have to stop blaming these guys. You wanted to fuck that guy. Period. No. I mean, unless you were legitimately raped, you are as responsible and accountable for what happens, especially if it's unprotected sex.
Yeah, ultimately, as a man in the society that we live in, I I had a lot of choices, and I fooled around with all of these women, right, all down the spectrum of women, and circumstances that come with the women. I ultimately knew I didn't want to marry a woman who had a whole bunch of attitude. They would get dismissed. A woman with kids, they would get dismissed, and so forth and so on, right? And I'm sure you were the same way.
Hells yeah.
Why? So my family won't be perpetuating this, right? And realistically, these women should really just be dying out anytime soon, but they're not. Why is it that you do you think that these women are still thriving? And do
Thriving
you
as
think that
far as
the bad attitudes, the lack of accountability, everything, so forth and so on?
because now they got movements to back the mentality. They've always had the feminist movement, but it has splintered off into concepts and to more bullshit movements. The Black Lives Matter movements. I support the Black Lives Matter saying fuck the Black Lives Matter movement. Alicia Garza, man, I don't even count her. They have
Mm.
narratives to back their stupidity. They have social media to back their stupidity even more. When a woman's like, let me tell you something. And you now actually, I don't have to tell you. You've seen it. Whenever a woman says something really stupid and really foul about a black man, she gets all the goddamn attention in the world, and that's nothing I'm jealous of. It's just a sad,
Believe all women.
yeah. It's just a sad reality. It's just a sad reality. It's like they got social media now to validate their bullshit. They don't have enough people telling them that they're stupid now because we've been dumbed down. And I mean,
Mm.
like, it's like I said, when you write a whole book and you're talking about patriarchy, like this is back to Alicia Garza, founder of Black Lives Matter. This woman wrote a book because her father used to make her make him coffee because she was raised, she didn't have to walk for anything. She was complete. Her and her mother were completely taken care of. But the fact of the matter is that they had to perform their house duties. She's upset about that. She's upset about that. These girls got stupid being constantly fed to them. At first, it was the idiot box. And like really much of the 70s and how they handled the black family dynamic on TV. That was the other point I wanted to make. And like I used to show Good Times. They didn't want a black father in Good Times. And then when they had a black father in Good Times, he was the worst possible archetype. He loved his kids. He was
Oh man.
disciplined, but at the same time, he was an underachiever like a motherfucker. He couldn't get shit done. He couldn't keep a job. When they wrote his character off the show, he kept a job, but then they killed him. Now, from what I hear was going on in 2020, like there are shows where like there are television shows and people do this shit with this idiot box. They actually you're actually being programmed by it. They call it television programming because that's literally what they're doing. They call it a program because they're programming you. Like this ain't no conspiracy theory shit. Think about what words mean. They're killing all of the heterosexual archetypes off of the TV shows, or they making them weak as fuck.
So it's funny because I was on Twitter and I'm really looking for it right now. But but
Oh
they
boy,
were talking about
Donnie, Black
yeah,
Mind, Black
yeah.
Mind is here. What up, Black Mind?
Oh shit, put them on.
Hey man, come on,
He
man,
didn't
come on
have
up,
time to
man.
grieve. But
Come
yeah,
on up,
no,
man.
on
I'm
Good
gonna drop the
Times
link.
they was talking about Florida. And what would trip me out was they pointed out how Florida basically kept that family in the projects. And then when it was all said and done, after James died, she went and remarried, disappeared, left them, and came back when the daughter got a rich husband.
And the husband that she married when she left also died from
Ooh,
cancer. Old
yeah.
Carl, old Moses Gunn. Yeah, because JJ was like he said something. He said something fly to Florida. Florida went to her room crying, and then like JJ went up to him to stick his chest out. Man, what's wrong with you, old man? Blah blah blah. Like JJ gonna do some shit. Seriously,
JJ,
JJ.
he was on that narcotic at the time.
Oh man, like yeah, and then he gonna turn around. I have cancer. I'm like, damn, they trying to kill off a good black man again. Well, Carl was an atheist though.
But
That
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 was that was another point that they brought up. She used to get on James so much because James didn't go to church and do everything in a Christian way, and then this heifer went and got an atheist.
Yeah, when James remember when James found that $27,000?
Made James go give it back.
No. Here's what happened. I think I'm gonna say it was $27,000. He found $27,000. He returned it. All they gave him was a certificate. And then everybody in the ghetto was talking about what an idiot James was for giving that money back because, of course, in the ghetto you're struggling. So he got so mad he revealed to his family that no, it wasn't 20. God damn it, it wasn't $27,000, $29,000. I took 2,000. Florida clowned him the entire. James is wrong. You can't keep this money, and it's like the whole point is you struggling. They just gave me a
That's
certificate.
ridiculous.
They should have gave him some of the money, but they didn't. What would it had? What would have harmed on Florida? I know the character they were trying to establish because Norman Lear, of course, but what would have harmed it would have been in keeping that money.
Yeah, because
Seriously,
what was this? The Good Times was the '70s, right? So twenty
yeah, good
seven
time.
thousand dollars was what the equivalent of 100,000. That could have legitimately took them out the hood. That could have gotten a business going. That could have got a lot going.
No, no, no. I'm sorry, $2,000. It was 2,000. So that
Uh,
all that wouldn't
uh,
have happened unless they'd have got a
okay, yeah. Well, he paid
they
the
got
rent for a couple months.
yeah. I mean, yeah, paid the rent bill for a couple months and ate good because we got to eat good every time we get some money. Get a good meal and don't let
That's
Thelma cook it, let Florida cook it. But
that's my damn flow.
but I mean, Florida ragged him the entire episode till he returned that money. Now, think about the look on James' face when he had to go back to the white folks and give them that money. Oh, it was 29,000. It wasn't 27,000.
Mm.
Think about think about the razor blade he had to swallow to go do that. But by the end of the episode, you were supposed, as a viewer, you were supposed to be like, "Oh man, James was an honest man. Yeah, he gave that. He gonna continue to struggle and not be able to provide for his family, but he gave that money back. Like, man, give me a break. They stole the entire country. So I mean, what's $2,000?
Mm.
But
Yeah, I found a whole article. They got a whole lot of points on here. They was going in on Florida. Yeah. So, but go ahead.
okay. Yeah. Yeah, they treated us very poor. They treat us very poorly in narratives, and then our women go for it. They go for it, and our men, no, not our men. Why would I say? Why would I even say our women? Let me put it like this. I say this to imply black people. When I'm speaking on this channel, I'm speaking about black people. Everybody always like, well, why don't you speak about white people? Go check out some of my other videos.
Mm.
But yeah, we were treated very, very poorly in the narratives. And then on top of that, after the '70s era television shows, which if you're out, if either you were a black man not in the home, but if you were a black man on television in the starring role, they made you into a buffoon. That's why Jimmy Walker's Dynamite was so prominently featured, and that's why George Jefferson danced all over the goddamn place because they weren't going to have a serious black man with a serious business and telling other black men that they can do I mean that they can do, like they had the special episodes where George would help out a young man, and then they had that one episode where he would tell him. But at the same time, George Jefferson had to dance like a fool in order to keep that show going. They would never had a solid archetype. But after that, even after that, after those television shows, and see what happened was Bill Cosby provided like the first archetype that was a strong black male archetype, very successful. His wife was very successful, very feminine, and they had a black family, which had nothing but they had one son and the rest daughters. The Cosby Show. After the Cosby Show started to have a profound positive influence on the black nuclear family, then the talk show era came out. Phil Donahue, Sally Jesse Raphael, Jenny Jones, Ricky Lake, all of them. I even think Jerry Springer had a show before Jerry Springer started doing all of that stuff. I mean,
Jerry Springer's show was very
Geraldo.
serious.
They had Geraldo.
Geraldo had one.
Yeah.
Jerry was very much a serious show, and what tipped Jerry over the edge because I remember watching Jerry Springer because my great aunt, we used to have to go over there during the summer and be babysat, and she would watch Jerry Springer. And Jerry Springer has some horrible, like gut wrenching, sad TV show moments where it was like, oh, my mother and I'm an orphan and I'm this, that, and the third, and then all of a sudden that wave of uh ratchetness hit, and that's when Jerry Springer took off and went to the left. Another one was Maury Povich. Maury Povich had a normal TV show, went left, and it just became insane because the
You
ratings on
are
these
not
particular
the
shows,
father.
yeah, that shit went left. So they kept that rolling. And if you notice, the majority, actually, I don't think there's been a season of his shows in the last, 10 plus years to where, or the last 10 years of the show, should I say, that it
Okay.
wasn't You Are the Father.
Okay, all right. So let me stop for a moment. All right, we got 15 watching. Hopefully all of you, and it got 26 likes. Hopefully one of those likes belong to you, but if it doesn't, please press that like button. And also press the like button because I'm gonna mention the one talk show during that era that fought against that narrative. We always talk about the talk show era, the talk show era, the talk show era. The one talk show era
Montel.
that fought. Huh? What'd you say?
Montel.
Good
Montel wasn't
God.
with the bullshit.
Great minds think alike. Montel Williams
Montel was not with
and
the bullshit.
his brother was like Black Manosphere before the Black Manosphere came out. His brother didn't play that shit at all. His
Now I'm not
brother,
familiar with his brother.
no, his brother looked kind of like him, but his brother was way out there. Seriously, he wasn't playing that
Mm,
shit. He was telling them all, like, you're full of it. And they were calling him a sexist. They were calling him a chauvinist pig, all that stuff. He was getting the shaming tactics of yesterday
mm-mm.
because he did not take it from these women. But when you hear Black Manosphere guys and black men talk about the talk show era, they are absolutely correct. I remember all of that shit.
You
Every
know,
time a black, every time a successful black woman went on, oh, black men, I can't find somebody that's on my level. Blah blah blah. I was like, what? I'm like, we
Oprah really set that shit off. Oprah had a lot of
Oprah,
those women coming on there shitting on black men,
and
and
we
then it
talking about
gave
early
everybody
Oprah.
else the permission to do it.
Oprah first came out in the late '80s. Oprah didn't start out in the mid '90s to 2000s. None of that shit. Oprah earned everything black men is saying about her. She started out in the '80s, and she was a big woman. She was big Oprah. Like she had the big hair, and yeah, you're right. She set that off. Oprah is very much responsible for that talk show era narrative.
She was the one that set it off, and then if I remember correctly, because I used to watch all of that shit. Like if I was home from school, or if we got home like a half day, I remember getting home and seeing some of this stuff. Because it would be these couple shows, and then Ronin Warriors would pop on. So I'm waiting for that. I'm feeling like a
Ronin
crackhead.
Warriors was off the chain, man. You can watch it on Tubi for free, like
Yeah.
the free Tubi. Yeah, you can watch it there.
So I would watch all of this stuff, and I remember seeing glimpses of this stuff, or it'd be like or we would tape it because the VHS era. So you would tape stuff, and the stuff would go through, and you would get some extra footage. And I remember seeing these bits and pieces, and these shows where they had white supremacists come on talking to black nationalists. They had all this kind of stuff on, and then it became the black feminist movement, and these black women would come on and they would talk about how black men did them dirty, and how that they've got all these struggles and these situations, and these shows was, I know they had to catch ratings because they kept bringing these women back, and then these women
Man,
turned into Are You the Father? Let's do a paternity test, and then those shows caught fire until where you have it now, where it's kind of the court show era, and it's not even, you have the paternity court. So you have the mess of a court show, but they're doing a paternity test to see if the black man is the father.
Judge, what's going on?
What up, Kevin?
All right,
Hey,
and let me get some shout outs in the chat. Shout
Fuck
out
them
to
people in
Lee.
the chat. No,
Yeah,
I'm just playing. I'm
yeah.
just playing.
but this is the first time I've seen Lee's Ollie. Shout out to Lee's Ollie. And welcome to the panel, Black Mind. So, Judge Dre, why don't you get in your first thoughts, and then we're gonna
My
let Black
man.
Mind go.
No, we let Black Plan go first.
Oh, Black Mind. Yeah, yeah. Well, Judge Dre has. You say you can go first. Go ahead. Go ahead, brother.
Uh, well, good morning. Thank you, Mr. Dre, for asking that I go first. But I was thinking at the time, okay, he came in right before me. He should go first. There's a reason that his name is Judge, and I was ready to listen to the verdict, but I came in because of I heard the question about why it is that they can be so misandrous and they can still have all of the support. And I want to point back again to something that my mother told me a long time ago, back I think about 2000. Yeah, I think it was 2000. And my mother was saying that in the hair salon where she would go and get her hair done, that somebody had taken it over. It was a certain type of youngster that had taken it over. And that was when my mother said to me, Black, you were right years ago when you said that the women of this generation are vastly different from my generation, that it's not the same anymore. You and your brother really have a lot you're going to have to sift through. It really is bad. I'm seeing who's coming into the hair salon. And she said it would have been years ago that the hairdresser would not have taken too many customers like that. But now that it's like they're the only ones that are going in because every few days they're getting in some extensions. And somebody's got to pay for that, and they're not going to pay for it. So they sit up and they talk to each other about the games that they would run to get resources out of multiple men, while of course having high body counts, but still excluding most men from that. It's still they were talking about how do you have several men giving you money, but you only getting dug out by three of them, which is still too high. But you got even more than that giving you money. So they had to talk about this kind of stuff. They were sharing these games with each other, even in the hair salon. Plus, they'd already gotten some of these games from their mom and auntie and grandmoms, but they were stepping it up and sharing these notes with each other in the hair salons in front of more highbrow and more classy women. And I said, well, Mom, at what point do the ones like you step up and say that they're going to have a serious high price to pay for it? And my mother
let,
said, she
let,
said to
I
me,
don't mean to really interrupt you, but I'm just very curious on the age range of you and like what decade this was. I'm just curious what time frame this conversation took place.
well, now I'm in my early 40s, but this was happening in 99 and 2000, these talks, this conversation. So
Okay, that's what I
at
thought.
that,
Okay, go ahead.
and so at that point, I was 22 and 23. And so that was what, that was the understanding. That was the time frame, that was the age range. And see, when I was about 19, I told my mother they're very different in this gen. When I was 20, I really told her, I said, Mom, it's not the same. 19, I remember telling my parents that even I, with all the black militants I've grown up with, I was not going to approach African American women again. I was done making the approaches. And that I was being nice because I really should have written them off even if they approached me. And I didn't get the blowback that I expected. But when I told my mother in age 22 and 20, about 21, I told her, Mom, they're very different and they're almost impossible. These, despite despite going to good schools, they're not really changing now that we're in college. They're still judging the men like they're in high school, even though they're changing everything else. So, and she said to me, so you expect me to believe that the only thing that's really wrong with them is the way that they judge men? Come on, son. How could they be so mature about everything else and be immature about that? And I told her I can't explain what reasons they have for that, but I can see it happening. So then, but anyway, to make a long story short, what my mother was saying was that if the ones who had any sense were to try to talk some sense into these young ladies in these hair salons, and anywhere else where women met, they were going to be slashed up with razors. She said they were enough of them in there, and they were, you could tell that they were just that tight. They would pin you down and shave your head bald and have you walking out the hair salon with a scalp.
Well, goddamn.
That she said she was saying things like Some of them had razor blades in their cheeks still, and this is this is not the 80s or let alone the 70s or 60s. So my mother was saying that even back then, what you saw was this militancy in the ratchet ones, to where they knew they're ratchet, they knew they're wrong, so they were already militant enough to plan ahead so that you couldn't tell them anything without a serious consequence. So what my mother started doing is she just started, because she knew the hairdresser personally too. She just said, "Look, can I pay you extra and have certain appointments where outside of your normal business hours, I'll come in and you could do my hair." And because this was only going to be twice a month at the most, sometimes even once a month. Whereas
where y'all from, fam?
I'm from the Gulf Coast. I can't specify the exact state because my son still he still lives in that state, but we're from the Gulf Coast area, along Interstate 10. And
Okay, you saying that let me know where you were. You in this story, I put two and two together. I know this ignorant as hell down there.
yeah, they are. They can be quite ratchet. It was worse back then than it seems to be now, from what I see when I go back and visit. But then again, it could also just be that I'm older and I get to move in older circles. But at that point, it was pretty bad when I was in high school. But what my mother was saying was that she was beginning to see it even in spaces where they just would not have been that often. So they're backing each other up. The thing is that they're not doing this even though it's ratchet and wrong. They're doing it because it's ratchet and wrong, and they're backing each other up because they understand that somebody's going to try to talk some sense into them. And in their minds, they made their minds up. You're absolutely not going to be doing that. We're going to do what's easiest. We're going to cheat, or we're going to, the cheat codes to men. We're going to use them. We're going to use the tactics that mom and grandma and auntie taught us. We're going to step them up because we insist on getting more and for doing less. We insist on taking the resources from the men that actually responsible enough to get some and lucky enough. And we insist on screwing who is charming enough because they're not going through the stress of acquiring resources. So we insist on getting all of it and losing nothing. And if we have to kill to do it, we'll do that. So, gentlemen, don't sleep on it. If they have to use razor blades and bullets and everything else to get everything in exchange for nothing, and to get away with the exact same things they would not tolerate us doing to them, they're going to resort to that.
Definitely.
Yeah, so that's why I was saying earlier that it's a war, that they're out to extract maximum resources from most men, and to give and still to sexually eliminate most of these men, genetically speaking. They really do. It's a contempt they have, and sisters know that they've stepped this up. I mean, Becky and Amber will do this. Don't get it twisted. Karen's not much better, but it's just that Sapphire. She's more open with it. That's the thing. Sapphire brags about this type of stuff.
Right.
And she may not explain it very well when she's young, but the older Sapphire gets, the more conscious she becomes of what she's doing, and the less apologetic she becomes. Because, she gets less apologetic. So they know what it is that they're doing. They understand how insulting this is to men. And they know that this is insulting to their own sons. They know what they're setting their sons up for when they don't tell their sons what's going on and how their sons are going to be assessed. When they say to their son, study, get your degree, they know they're setting their son up to be taken for a ride when they don't tell him, when you get it, they're going to be a bunch of ratchet bees like me that are going to come along and try to get your resources, but they don't actually believe that you're man enough to deserve to have your own children. So if they can, they're going to have his kids and then pass them off as yours. If they can't, they're going to have his kids and try to guilt you into raising them. Either way it goes, they want his kids and then they want your resources. They don't want your kids and he ain't got no resources. And if he had any resources, the stress he has to go through would make him less charming. It would dampen his swagger. So you see, at the end of the day, they know they're setting their sons up. But Jessica X said this, the same thing my mother told me. Jessica X said on Game Changers panel one time, about maybe 2.5 months ago, that even though fathers will tell their daughters even more than they need to know about men so that they can be extra safe, she said mothers are not going to do the same thing for the sons And mind you, I've always talked about the aunts, grandmoms, and the grandsons and nephews. I don't usually blame the mothers directly for not telling the sons, but Jessica X said mothers specifically will not tell their sons about these things because they have to tell on themselves. And that's exactly what my mother told me when we were talking about my own son and his mother's side of the family, and how it is mostly women, but he still feels a sense of confusion, or he felt a sense of confusion about women a long time ago. And she said, you're going to have to teach him about women because they're not going to do it. And I said, well, I understand that, Mom, but what do you think the reason is? And she said, because they have to tell on themselves. So, same thing coming from two different avenues. And the vacation in which my mother told me this was the day after I was at my friend's house, and his mother sat up in their kitchen in front of my son and me. His mother sat up and said to my friend, her own son, to me and then to my son, that she wished her husband would have a girlfriend and do something manly for a change. She would find that so sexy. And he's 70 something, retired, and he's old. You can see in the way he walks, he's tired because he worked all these decades to take care of the family. And the thanks he gets for that is as soon as he goes to the back to take a nap, she says that he wishes he'd have a girlfriend in front of my 18-year-old son, and pretty much red pilled him again. And so they're pretty much saying, we want what we want. It's evil. It's fucked up. We just don't care. We're going to get it. And if anybody tries to talk any sense into us, we'll slash them for it. So if we start putting this sort of stuff out there and letting these guys know like what we're doing in this space, then they're going to come along and they're going to try to do things like, if they can't slash you personally, like in my case, they're going to try to call your employer, and they're going to try to get your location and your name and try to dox you, because what they want is for you to be homeless and seem like you're crazy, not because you're a liar, but because you're telling the truth. And thank you, Judge Drake, for being patient.
Oh no, I'm
Talk
lit up, brother.
gaslighting.
Keep going.
Well, that's about the gist of it. I think I'm ready to listen now to your judgment.
Oh, I just judgment right there. I'm gonna
Yes,
just tell
sir.
you like this. This is one of the things I've noticed. Man, like I said, I've looked at other men's situations, and this is the problem. I think what has happened is me. I've become to the fact is where I'm pretty much open minded. As you see, I don't mind telling my bad shit. But a lot of times, I think that as you've gotten older, you realize that, hey, man, we got to put this shit out there so people know. But I've noticed that especially women don't. They'll keep that shit secret. They don't. I mean, because of course it's telling on themselves. You hit the nail on the head right there. I could have not explained it a better way. By the time I got the advice to watch out for women and they're sneaky, I had already made my mistakes. I had already got caught up in the game. I mean, you never got no type of warning before, unless there was another like older man around to like let you know. But this is the problem. I mean, sometimes just you telling another man, hey man, you better watch out because this is how the world is set up and this is how, things are judged. You tell them that first thing, oh nigga, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. Then they walk down the road and get blown up too. And they're like, well shit, you should have told me. You're like, nigga, I've been trying to tell you. I mean,
Exactly.
and one of the things is this, even with the women, they've got them. I mean, they're in a good spot right now. I mean, you got to give their ass credit. They're in a good spot. As basically in terms of this, the women were brought up raised. Don't let a man tell you shit. Don't lift this, that, and the other. You're strong. You don't need a man's shit. Now, the men were brought up raised. No, you need to do all of these, this for your woman. So basically, you put this in the young boy's head, telling him this, and so he thinks he has to do this, and what he's gonna do is try to keep working to an impossible goal.
Let
And
me
that's why,
ask you
as you
fellas
say with
this.
your uncle, he was sitting there 70 years old and worked his ass to death for a motherfucker that don't appreciate him, let alone he can't even get any respect in his own house.
Let me ask you fellas this, because this is the second time I've heard about basically bumping your head. I bumped my head at an early age. Did y'all not bump your heads at an early age? Because like my younger interactions, like the time I learned like really on some like, oh, you motherfuckers ain't shit. I was probably 14. That was like the final straw for me, right? But before that, I had learned at like 8. I brought a little girl some a Valentine's Day gift, and she didn't bring me one. I felt some type of way. uh, you know what I mean? And we kind of progressed down. And I remember going on a date with a girl and paying for her movie ticket, and she was actually there with another boy and didn't say nothing. So when we sat down, I'm thinking we sit next to me. I'm on one side, he on the other side. I see her holding her hand. I got up and dipped up out of the movie theater. I learned my lesson from that day forward. At what point in the game did you learn that basically these women have a level of power that they kind of exert over you, and you need to figure out how to counteract and wiggle you, move your way around, maneuver with?
Ooh, I ain't gonna lie, I wasn't that. I said I wasn't that young right there. By the time I realized, how strong the power was, I had to be much older, maybe about 18, 19. I wasn't a quick. I said, like, I was one of those ones, a virgin to them at 16. So, I was kind of late, that they would say in the men.
Mm.
By the time, you know what I mean? By the time I was one of those ones, I had a job at an early age. I always had a hustle. Like, as you see, I'm always working, as we say. I always had a hustle going no matter what. I learned. So, I mean, I knew that women like money. I knew that women, like things. You want to get certain things. You got to, unfortunately, as a man, you got to have a nice car. You got to have the most money. You got to have, it's just like that. It gives you more options.
So,
Unfortunately.
so those things were ingrained in me as a kid. Like like for instance, my grandmother always told me, "You don't want to be broke. You don't want to be homeless because girls won't like you." So
Yeah.
I didn't really kind of understand that, and then as I got older, I understood that if you have more money, it's not necessarily uh, girls like are looking at you in a way, and they're like, "He's just cute." They see the power and the respect that you command because you can do what the fuck you want to do.
Yeah.
But my thing was, I always knew early on that you had to have a certain level of money. Women were attracted to that and everything else. By the time I was 19, which was I was 18 when I graduated, should I say? By the time I was 19, so the year after that, I had already had a brand new car. I had little bumps. I was driving around. I made money my priority, and I realized that women kind of fell in line after that. And unfortunately, the movie State Property 2 came out. I don't know. I'm not sure if y'all have seen that. There was a scene in the movie where Noriega had a different girl for every day of the week. And it was like, this is my Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And it was funny to me because I tried to emulate it. So, and emulating it, it taught me more because I realized women will tell you any old fucking thing or any old thing. And if you ignore them, they chase after you harder. And you do this. So I realized the power that I had as a man. But I also saw that women were ruthless as hell. I had a girl tell me she was pregnant. I knew I had slept with her with a condom and pulled out. Ain't no way you could have got pregnant. And then this was a week later. So I mean, I guess by the point I was 19, 18, I realized women was just easy as fuck.
I ain't gonna say I knew they
Did
was.
somebody?
I didn't find out they was scandalous in mid-20s. I knew they was bad, but I didn't know they was treacherous. Like until like like me. I work in homes, and most of the homeowners I work for are women. Some of the conversations I hear, because especially when I'm in the single people's homes. Oh my gosh, man, the shit, and it's just yeah, I ain't even gonna lie, man. You hear some of those conversations. Like I used to work at one time I was working at a beauty salon fixing that up. And I could hear the women in the other room talking. And I was like, man, when you hear the scandalous shit that they would talk about that they did, you just be like, it's just like a complete turn off. And what's so bad is like now, if I'm dating a woman and she just like does or mentions something that reminds me of one of those women in the shop, automatic turn off. I just can't be. I was like, oh God, we ain't fucking today. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. I was about, I say I was about 20 when I began to, I don't know really. It was a gradual process. It was a gradual process, but I was about 20 when I saw what a lot of the instincts were. Well, that's when I began to understand hypergamy, but I didn't know the name for it. and I
Yeah.
realized that hypergamy was that something had thrown it off. That like if you factor in the normal hypergamy, that's when I came to realize that I had to be even more above them than other black men did. But
Yep.
I didn't really know how to articulate that either. But when I think I was about, I ain't gonna lie, I was in my 30s when I realized how intentional a lot of this stuff was. And then I was actually from my 40s. It was about 2017 when my memory got jarred that I began to realize even more so how intentional and careless this was. So it was about 2017, 2018 when I realized that a lot of this was not subconscious anymore. I had different ideas at different times as to how intentional these games were, but by the end of 2017, that's when I was saying, oh no, most of these B words know what they're doing, and they're doing it intentionally. They know that they know that they're being hypocritical about it. They either don't care and they don't think about it, or they think about it and they still don't care. But but being aware of it is not going to stop them from doing it. So that's what I was about. That was, let's see here. Yeah, that was still early 40s at that point. So that's when I mean, what the games were, I began to somewhat understand about 21, 22. But how intentional they were and how malicious they were, I got to understand that about 2017. And truth be told, my dad was trying to explain it himself, but he struggled. He'd been trying to explain it for decades. But you all, it was this space that gave me the vocabulary to understand it. And that's when I realized that both of my parents were actually trying to explain a lot of this stuff, but they didn't have the vocabulary to do it.
Yeah.
And so they, to their credit, they were trying, but the terms weren't used in their circles. But now with the internet and social media, now we have vocabulary for this. I mean, we have hypergamy. That's an academic term to describe something like this. But, we have it now amongst ourselves without necessarily being academics because of the internet and social media. And it's these kinds of things when you can take some type of effery that they're doing and you can put a name to it. Not that hypergamy is automatically wrong, but when you can start saying, okay, look, when you can say in a sentence, you can summarize, you're trying to combine feminism with hypergamy and they're mutually exclusive. See, that's when they start getting upset because now you got a way to simply tell in one sentence something so deep to another man and mess up her chances. So now she understands if she wants to get his resources, she has to bend over his couch or she has to do some kind of job in exchange for it. But she can't just sweet talk him out of what he has to work for and earn and then turn around and just walk off into the sunset with another dude. And this ruins these chances. It's really the vocabulary, the extra words that explain so much that really makes them angry. Because believe you me, on Facebook as an example, and Facebook's for us old cats. You young whippersnappers, y'all are using Twitter a lot. So for Facebook, I'm seeing how angry they are there. So I can only imagine what's going on Twitter where I don't have an account. But there's this lady named Aisha B, Aysha. Now her profile pic on Facebook is a butt shot, and people have seen her twerk on Facebook Live to get video, to get views. She said MGTOW was for butthurt, bitter, closeted gay men. Now, mind you, she's saying this. She's not going in on MGTOW because it's not black enough like I would do. She goes in on MGTOW because it's too good for men. And she said it's for closeted gay men, and then she wants to sit up and say that it's for men that are really hurt by the divorce and they're not hurt by the marriage. And that the reason why so many women are filing for divorce is, of course, because the men are making them unhappy. So she's sitting up and saying two mutually exclusive things right then and there. Gay men don't care about women leaving them. That's everybody understands that. So she's sitting up and saying these two mutually exclusive things with a behavior that shows that she's a part of the problem. And then here's the thing. She works at Walmart. I don't know where, but she works at a Walmart. And people that know her in person that describe where she works have said she doesn't argue with people in person. Now, granted, she's not starting the arguments, and I'm not blaming her for that, but they say that she's non-argumentative in general, that she's actually pretty good at avoiding them, that she's mild-mannered. But she had all this support on her Facebook page from sisters I know because my cousin was one of them. And when I got on there and I was going to comment, I found out that one of my colleagues that I work with, his name was on there. He was in the comment section. And he said that his cousin was one of those that had liked and commented on the video. I don't know if it was a cousin or nephew or I mean niece or what, but he used the word cousin. And in my case, it actually is one of those fourth cousins. So he said this. So think about the coincidence of it. I just go on this page and I go into a group, and then I see that the colleague that told me about the group also has the exact same issue that I've got. Just two, it's so random. It shouldn't even be the case. The kind of coincidence shouldn't even exist. But that's how prevalent it is. But that's the thing is, see, they want to sit up and try to dox us and mess things up for us. I mean, believe you me, if they could, they would call my boss internationally, pay the toll or pay the international call rates, and give all this information if they could to get me fired. And so they're willing to do that. But then when you find out about them, it's so inconsistent. And that's because what they're pretty much saying is, F the rules, we are demanding from you men the right to do these things that are wrong and pay none of the consequences and still have a happy ending. We're pretty much demanding from you to reward our sin of insulting you. That's what they're doing.
Hey, Black Man, if I can stop you for a second. I'm glad you're saying something about doxing because listen up. I know some of y'all in this space like dox people just to humiliate them. But I want you to try doxing me and try contacting my current employer because that dude really don't give a fuck. And he'll confirm it for you. So like that's what I like hearing about this whole gender war thing because the gender war is that's one of the results of this gender war. People feel like they got to dox you. People feel like they got to humiliate you, tell people where you live, try to call your job and shit. That's whole shit. But as far as I'm concerned, you dox me and try to contact my employer, you might end up in prison. But supposedly I'm busting suds and serving tables and keeping salt and pepper shakers full and asking people how may I help you. So it might be best that you continue thinking that. So anyway, it's just that. But the underlying thing is I'm not trying to brag or anything like that, like I'm some badass or anything. But for anyone, doxing is whole shit. Seriously, because you have a different opinion than someone, you have to humiliate them. That's why there are black people out there that are more afraid of what black people do to them than what white people do to them. Bullshit. Grow the fuck up.
Well, they'll try the doxing stuff largely because what they want is something similar to what white supremacists back in the 60s and 70s wanted, and they still want. They wanted Malcolm to be homeless, as an example. To a certain extent, they wanted MLK to be homeless, but someone like Malcolm, they really wanted him to be homeless. The NOI wanted that, and white supremacists wanted that. Because when you're getting too close to a secret, that's when people want you to appear to be insane. Yep. That's something that I wouldn't want. If somebody's getting too close to a secret, if somebody's about to
discredit you.
I'm sorry?
They want to discredit you before you even open your mouth.
Exactly. They want you to be unbelievable and doubted and discredited. They want the masses to be incredulous to whatever you're going to say before you actually say something that's correct.
Right. Basically, they want to say like this. They want people to know you're lying before you even open your mouth.
It's not even that. They want to go further than that. If they can say that you're ashy and then pull a picture up with you and you're doing something, a job that's menial labor, at that point they say, well, you're broke, you're this. Why are you giving advice? Why should you be able to have a word or a voice? As if everybody who's supposed to have common sense and good logic is supposed to be a millionaire, right? So when they try to shoot you down, then it becomes, well, you did have this good job. Now you're broke and you work at Walmart. The only job you can get is a bullshit job. Why should we listen to you? So that's a lot of the things that they do. But I did want to attack the points when you were talking about Twitter and Facebook and etc. So when they talk about feminism, intersectionality, they talk about these hot words, right? They use them as justifications, right? So with feminism, anytime I've ever seen feminism, I've seen it as a justification to be a hoe. And that probably sounds real crazy, but let me break that down why I say it's a justification to be a hoe. They like to say that it's the patriarchy is looking down on them for being a strong, independent woman, which is feminism, because they've got their ass cheeks out, because they've
Right.
had sex with a whole bunch of dudes, because they are out here doing things where men who have good sense don't want them. And you're wrong because you don't want a hoe. You're wrong because you don't want a woman who looks like she's sleeping with every dude on the block,
Mm-hmm.
because your patriarchy is oppressive and yada yada yada. So that's what typically feminism does, right? And then you go down the line to the other terms that they use, like toxic masculinity, which we talked about a little earlier. And ultimately, if you stand up for yourself and you draw the line, you're being toxic. But you have bigger forms when you have these studs running around here doing all this crazy shit, and nobody wants to speak on them because that's toxic masculinity and everything else. A lot of the shit that they say on Twitter is justifications in order to keep their nonsense going without being checked, as in avoiding accountability.
Well, keep maintaining the status quo. I mean, that's basically what it is. And if you ever notice that, like, basically, their favorite word that I'm tired of hearing is bash. Oh, you always. I mean, you tell. I mean, basically, and I'm telling. I said, if you notice how the definitions are so loose with them, it's just about funny. I mean, you could be like, hey, you know what, man, your blood pressure is high. You need to do this, that, and the other. And, that's not that color doesn't look right on you. See what I'm talking about? I always got a bad, hey, man, somebody just give you an opinion. It's like basically like anything you say, anything you like is talking down on them. And they don't realize they've gotten to the point where men have realized that, hey, this is how they're going to act. What are they going to do? They're just going to get left alone.
If I
And,
if I
and
told
they're
you
just trying to shame people back to the table.
if I told you there's a difference between things, right? Because this is how they look at it. This is a prime example of the bash word, right? So if you say to black women, "Hey, listen, you're at fault for being a single mother. You guys have these high rates. You need to make better choices and do better." Da, 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 and you go down the line. That's bashing. However, when a black woman talks about black men being deadbeat dads and everything else, that's just telling the truth.
Right. What gets me, I sit here, the biggest thing, oh, shit. Oh, man.
Run
No,
into it,
go
jump into it, jump in the
ahead.
pool.
No, I just, I sit here and laugh. It's just like, really the problem is this is, I hate to say this, but it's just going to have to be, we need to adopt some of their policies that they do. We're gonna have to do a scorched earth type shit
You,
with
you going out, you going out, bruh.
them. Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Now, so we're gonna have to do what they kind of adopt some of their policies, do a scorched earth type bullshit. Immediately when they do something foul, call them out on it, make it public and gruesome. Unfortunately, they have to, they've been in their comfort zone for too damn long, and it's time to upset it. The only way to get this train anywhere back to where anywhere near some common ground, I mean, no offense, we got to pull a scorched earth type shit. I mean, as soon as they stand out of line, like step out of line, do something foul, put them on blast hard. I mean, public humiliation tenfold. This is the problem. Like, if you ever notice, like with the people doxing and shit, oh, I love it. If when I first came on YouTube, the first 5 years, I used my government name. Everybody knows my real name. I said, think about it. Any one of them could have tracked down any of my baby mamas, and they could have had them on the show by now. You can go ahead and do whatever you want. But when I said you want to bring that dog to puppy, I said you think I done told you a lot of shit. Now, oh God, imagine I'm one of those ones you do not want to get on my bad side. I've even had friends say, "Hey man, are we friends?" Why? He's like, "Yeah, because I already know what Judge is capable of." You know, and it's just the problem is we've just been too light. And the fact is they've gotten away with it for so long, they realize that this behavior is acceptable. The men aren't going to do anything. Most men have been taught, "Hey man, that's what women do. If you do anything back, no. Sometimes you got to play by their rules." Well, motherfucker ain't got that. And I tell people all the time, the worst person to ever go up against is the person who has no rules. Just because you have these rules and you won't do this, that, and the other, if your opponent would do that, he will always win. That's why if you ever notice and you look at any big battles back in the day or any good generals, the generals who knew, "Hey man, this is what we're gonna do to win," and they went that extra mile, those were the ones that were always conquerors. You have to be willing to. I mean, like plain and simple. You want to put any type of startup business or whatever. You got to be willing to do what the other person won't do, and then do it better.
Yeah.
And this is the
Well,
problem. Women, they can play the game and they fake the game, but this is the problem. They're not built for it. You don't have stamina and all like this. I sit here and laugh. But if the situation was reversed and say women had to put up with the shit that men and say we had to reverse for a year, half of them wouldn't make it 6 months. I
mm,
mean, think about it. Like, what? Look at this to the women that called Kevin's show. You talk all that bullshit. You went to school to get this damn degree, but yet you want to stop working and have somebody take care of your ass. I mean, now think about it. If that's what you want, I mean, last time I checked, when men go out and get these jobs or work their ass off, they know that they're gonna be doing that for 40 plus years. Y'all motherfuckers get 15 in and y'all already complaining.
All right.
my cousin talked about that exact same thing. He practices medicine in 2 different states,
Hmm.
and he was saying that he started to distance himself from some of his friends' wives because it initially like his friends and their wives would be friends of his, but he said he started to distance himself from the ones that stopped working. Not, and he didn't say anything about what money they weren't spending on the household, but he distanced himself from them because what he realized was that their reason for going to med school and going into debt was to meet the male doctor and have someone take care of them, and that was all
Yep.
it was. Now, my
Hmm.
aunt, my father's sister, still alive. She used to be a staunch feminist until her sons came of age. And one of the things she told my father recently was, I would say about 2011 or 2012, I think. She told my father that she was getting sick of female doctors and some of the nurses. She said the male doctors and even the male nurses go in there expecting to work and they're ready to work. She said that when she has to call a female doctor or some of the nurses for help, that they seem upset at even being called while they're on the clock, and that
Oh,
they pretty much went. She said the same thing, that they went to school to find someone to take care of them,
hmm
went
well, not
into
even
debt
the
for
fact
it.
of that. Haven't you noticed that? Plain and simple. If you notice how customer service in most of these jobs have gone in the toilet, like
Hmm.
anywhere you go, just think about next time you're there. Look at the customer service. Like, watch it. Like, you sit up here and say, "Wow, man, if that was a dude just with an attitude like that, came off like that to a customer, they'd be gone."
Yes.
I
So
mean,
I,
one of
I,
the
I
things you
call these
don't realize.
classes.
Go ahead.
So the women who go to school and do all this shit, I call them decoy classes, right?
Okay.
They take decoy classes. They act like they are there to do some real learning, to get some real education, but the whole time they're peeping out who they're going to shoot down, who's going somewhere. So the best place for a woman who hasn't found a kid, or I'm sorry, hasn't had a husband by the age of 25 is what? Medical school. Because she can go to medical school technically and just fail out. If she's got a husband, it's game on. Sometimes these chicks keep going all the way until they get to a certain point. They may have found a person, and at this point they're too far in to quit, or they're not really sure, but they started dating somebody. My thing is personally, right? So my thing is personally is if you have all of this racked up debt from education, you're working into this racked up debt from education is paid off. I make enough money to not have to worry about like my wife being a stay at home wife and whatever, because I've done it. But personally, people will get these women and they have these huge ass $120,000 a year debts or $120,000 debts, and the woman just quit working. Fuck out of here with that.
Well,
And just stop.
well, how about this? You sit up here and think, like, you want to sit up here and talk. I sit here and laugh. I've talked to a lot of, I ain't gonna lie, I've been dumb enough to do it too. But I talked to a lot of men who were in college. How many of these broads have actually done their work in school? You understand what I'm saying?
What do you mean work? Like just
Oh,
to
yeah.
get degrees?
Yeah, right. No, right. No, I'm talking about like, right. This is a good way to tell. Look at a person, look at their grades, and then look at their test scores. That's how you tell. Because, I'm not even going to lie. My son's mother, ain't no fucking way she should be a LPN. I mean, there's just no fucking way. She can't do basic math.
Well,
I mean,
luckily
like,
she don't got to do math
she
with a
has an
heart.
LP. No, she has an LPN. Well, she killed one person at the job.
Yeah, apparently that's common from what I'm hearing.
Right, like literally, I sit up here like this is, and you see, I said it multiple times. I don't have no. This is the fact is this. I don't have no point. I say the location of where it happened. So if anybody want to know, but if she got
don't do all
they
that.
cover that shit up. I mean,
No,
she girlfriend don't know basic math, so you calculate a dose wrong and kill somebody.
I fully understand, but that's part of that's like the decoy classes, right? So they go in there and oh yeah, I'm taking these classes. I knew a chick. I'm this chick, probably in 2009, and we talked here. This was 2012. I'm talking to her. She's still in nursing school. So let me understand it. We have a program out here. It's called Pima Medical School. Pima Medical School is 2 years. I met her in 2009. How are you still in nursing school in 2012? You could have been a doctor at that point.
But not a lot of times is this is, and I know, I ain't gonna lie. Especially I remember sitting there. So when I was doing her work, I remember looking through her phone. She's probably fucking two or three other people probably in the damn school because they was helping her with work too. So it's just like, well, wow. I mean, your ass ain't done shit for I mean, don't ask you a damn test question because you fucked. Yeah, I mean, so I sit here and laugh.
My mother made me take a phlebotomist course.
Right, but I'm just like this. All these damn degrees that you say these women say how they have, I wonder if we did really effective. Like men came out and be like, oh, no, she ain't got a degree. I did her work for her.
So I'm not gonna lie. My mother made me take a phlebotomist course because she wanted me to be a pharmacy tech, right? And the pharmacy tech class, I forgot how long it was, but she was like, just see if you like it. You take this class, I'll pay for it, da 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 da. So I remember taking the phlebotomy class and smashing like 8 women in that phlebotomy class because they was in there on some decoy shit.
Mm-hmm. Well, my friend, he's an RN. He told me, oh man, so many women that he could smash at work. He said they don't do it at work because it's just a fucked up thing. But he said, oh yeah, man, like, and I've had even women say, oh, if you was ever in the medical field, I would never date you. Why is that? Because all the men that work in them and ended up multiple people at their job. Multiple.
All right, guys. Just want to ask a question. If there is so ever a gender war that is in existence, is it nearing its end, or is it going to keep raging on forever and ever? And why would it do that if it were to continue?
It's nearing its end. I'll say that. I think that basically that's the fact is this. Men, we are better adapters than they are. They can't adapt as well as we can. We realize, okay, fine, this is how you want to play the game. We just adapt and change. Won't be no more marriages. We won't do this. We won't do that. Eventually I mean, it's not enough simps to take care of them all, and they realize that.
Yeah.
I mean, if the proof is in the pudding, just go to show you, if we were as destructive as women are, especially like when they get upset, women aren't do this. They'll blow up, like I said, they blow up the whole spot. But think about it. Say if men were destructive about the shit that when they bash us, there wouldn't be no fucking TV shows left on TV. There wouldn't be no Lifetime. Wouldn't be none of them damn shows. All them classic movies they talk about, they'll be gone. All them actors that played in them, they wouldn't be having jobs anymore. All them products that sponsor them, they wouldn't be. I mean, no offense. If we got mad and just pulled their shit on them, there wouldn't be nothing left. That goes to show you that I hate to say, when it comes to, they're fighting from a position of weakness, because even words can hurt their feelings. We've been hit, bashed, more stress put on us, more load put on us, and what? With no help.
I will say that. I mean, it really shouldn't be put as a gender war, but it is. I think it's going to keep going. I think it's going to keep going because there are actually people that have social media platforms that need it to keep going because that is the basis of their content and their material. They will never stop looking for a fight. And once that honeypot runs out, they're not going to know what to do.
Yeah. Like I find it funny how they find fights in anything. I mean, anything. Well, this person is disrespectful, and it's like, well, what did they do? Well, he didn't have to say it like that, or he didn't have to do that, or he didn't have to. It's like, for real.
Mm. Yeah, one
Let
thing
me
about
tell you off GP.
mm,
Oh, okay. So yeah, off GP. This is a start. We just getting warmed up for the gender war.
You
Men
think
ain't
so?
really out here launching it. Men are not out here launching attacks. So it's really a one-sided battle. We're defending ourselves, right? But we're not launching attacks. So, like, black men in the manosphere are talking about it. White men are talking about it with the MGTOW movement and such and such. But it's not a real like major like we're going back and forth. No. They're just getting started. You got to understand.
Sorry, you went
Hell,
out, man.
You
You
fell
have to
out.
say that last part
Repeat
again,
that
right
again.
after you.
okay, can you hear me now?
Last
Yeah.
thing I heard was you
Okay,
have to understand, and then that's when your voice cut out.
okay, yeah. So you got to understand, we're just getting to the tail end of the Me Too movement, right? We're still in the middle of the rape culture movement. It was only a few years ago where this woman had the bright idea to carry her mattress around after everybody already found out that she lied about being sexually assaulted and graduated, walking across the stage, still wearing her mattress. The only thing that's been a curveball to these women thus far is transgender women. Transgender women has thrown them for a loop. So they don't know whether to accept it. They don't know whether to.
Well,
Not
they're
again.
going to look and see which one is the most harmful to us, really, as far as whether they're going to accept it or not. They're really just going to try to look and see, does it have an effect on us? And for the most part, what they'll do, now I could tell you, not so much because I'm a prophet and I can see the future, but only because we can use history as a marker. And I'm one of those that says that it's not over. There are two ways to look at it. You can say that the war is over and they're going to start another war, or you can say that a battle is over and they're going to continue the war with another battle later. But one way or another, we know that it's not over because
They're winning. They're definitely winning the battle, winning the war. So what I was saying with the transgender comment was, every day it proves that they're fucking stupid for everything they say. If you look at the little girl who was taking testosterone and wrestling all or I'm sorry, the little girl who's taking estrogen and wrestling all the girls, she was whooping their ass, right? You look at the man in London who has the deadlift for women's record, it makes them look stupid. If you look at all of these women who are competing, men who are competing in these female sports, it makes them look dumb. And ultimately, it deads their argument of feminism because I've seen them go as far as we're just the same as you. You're not. You're absolutely not, and it shows when Bruce Jenner can be Woman of the Year.
I knew you was gonna make the Bruce Jenner comment.
Yeah,
I told
yeah,
me that was
yeah. Because
coming.
that, I mean, it's terrible when the other two people that were the candidates qualified way more than Chimp.
Hmm.
You had somebody with a brain tumor, brain cancer, with a terminal illness that passed away, and then you had a soldier who had one leg and ran a marathon. This guy wears a dress, and then they go out there and give him an ESPN Courage Award. I was like, you guys are a joke.
Right.
Um,
Well, I
Sitting
mean,
on Chris
like,
Jenner's part, but ultimately that made women look stupid as fuck because they have to either do one of two things. They have to acknowledge that it's all promotional and whoever talks the best gets this trophy, or they have to say, well, he's she is a great woman, even though he was a man a couple weeks ago. They're not gonna do it.
yeah,
yep.
yeah, yeah. You have to be as brave as Brett Favre. Give a half a clap, kind of like, I'm not with this.
Right.
Uh, yeah, but about the gender war part, um, I'll tell you one little aspect. Um, it's not that we're always being said that we're arguing with black women, right? Why is it never seen as they're arguing with us?
Right.
What they
Like,
mostly say is we're comparing ourselves and we're not. What we're doing is we're trying to let you understand that you are in this position and it's not going to change. You're under me. And when you tell them that, they can't seem to grasp it, right? You're competing with a black woman. I'm not competing with you, baby. I'm telling you it's the truth. Well, no, you brought up these several examples of how you're doing better than me. And I pointed out how you're not. And now I'm competing with you. Doesn't work like that.
right. I mean, well,
Well,
I mean, think about it. They talked about how good what Serena Williams was, and then she went up against that male tennis player. He was ranked like 258th, and he stomped her.
Shit.
I was
Wait, that
unaware of
actually
that.
happened? I,
Yeah.
so, so I've heard the comparison, right? So, like, I'll give you a prime example. Uh, I used to do fight. I used to fight. I used to do mixed martial arts, boxing, kickboxing, etc. I've been in the ring or the octagon with Ronda Rousey. I didn't get to fight her or anything like that, but I know that there was people that I could go head to head with, and they mollywopped the shit out of Ronda Rousey
Yeah.
because it's not a fair comparison. But when women like to say, well, Ronda Rousey could beat you up, not really. Like maybe she catches you off guard, yeah, you're dead in the armbar, yeah, sure, sure. But if we're boxing, nah, homie, that's not gonna work out.
Right. Well, you see, they talked all that shit, and that other one beat the shit out of her ass.
The Brazilian, yeah, but
Yeah.
really Ronda Rousey just wasn't a phenomenal boxer, so that's just what the flaw in that game was. But for the most part, I've sparred with a lot of women who are very good contenders. The level that they are at is just not on par with what men are at.
Yeah.
Testosterone, bone density, muscular, curvature, and everything. It just makes the difference. Men and women are
stamina.
not equal. It
Right.
sounds good on paper. It sounds beautiful. I think women can be on paper, yeah, women can be smarter than men all day. I'll be the first one to tell you that there are women who are way smarter than me, right? It's few and far between there's a woman who could beat me up because there's few and far between where a man can beat me up. So
Right.
how do you justify that?
Of course. Well, basically, they try to discredit all the things, all the advantages that men have over them are either discredited or shown as something being toxic.
Yeah, yeah,
They're trying to breed that out. If you notice, like this younger generation of male, they're trying to breed that shit out of them. And then they don't. I tell them they don't realize something. If you sit up here and keep making the males weak by trying to do this dumb training, who the hell's gonna protect your ass?
yeah.
We should
Yeah,
let them do it.
Let
We
me.
should
what do you do
let
when
them
the
come up with their
wolves
own
come?
protection.
What do you do when the wolves come, right? So that's
Right.
always the narrative. Men are toxic, men are this, men are that. And then you have outside men come in to harm you. Who do you go to?
Well,
And what's so
we
bad?
know
Well, you see
the way
what's
that they
happening.
think is they'll just go ahead and go to those men that they just go ahead and go to those outside men. That's what they're
Yep.
really going to do. But I would say that if they're insisting on this, then let's just go ahead and let them so-called breed out what it is that they need and let them come up with their own defense if they really want to be defended. Because see, when they're saying something like that, what that really means is they don't care about being defended. They just let somebody else take them, so to speak. Because what they're thinking is that they're going to be taken by stronger men that are still going to respect them despite their relative weakness, failing to understand that no, what they're going to go through is going to be what's already happened. These men are going to look at their own women as still being superior to the women who they so-called took. That just hasn't sunk in yet.
Yep.
Yeah. Let me give y'all an example of the gender war, and I wanted to and then we're probably gonna wrap this up, but I want to respond to something Cortez Smith said. Shout out to Cortez Smith. He said the government created the war and foolishly women accepted it. Yes, it started with Gloria Steinem, and like what you see and how it applies today. Every time they want to make black women mad, what they'll do is they'll go find the basketball player that's dating a white woman, and then they'll plaster his picture all over the place. Like that's what they do. That's what they do. They keep the fires going. Mainstream media, which is government controlled, spread these messages through
Well,
the
I mean,
idiot box.
right. They have to keep it. They have an agenda. Like this is the thing: is media is an agenda, and sometimes I try to tell these women they don't understand something. They want to keep you single. They want to keep you not working together because this is the problem. It shows that women who are single and not in relationships, they spend more money. You got
Hmm.
more households. Like if people doubled up and paired up, no offense, it wouldn't be enough. There'd be too many homes on the market. If people really got together and worked together, they see the bean counters, the people who watch the actual figures, they know when a woman is actually in a relationship, she spends less money. That actually they so basically, if I'm trying to maximize revenue, I'm Amazon, any big company. Think about it. If I lose a 0.5%, that's a couple $1 billion.
Mm.
Let me tell you that the contradiction that women do on a consistent basis, right? That you have these songs out. These songs are I don't need a man, I'm independent, I can make my own choices, I can do this, I can do that. And then you have another narrative, which a prime example would be Megan Thee Stallion. Megan Thee Stallion always sings about how she don't need a nigga, but she want a nigga. She can choose. She can do that. She can do that. Uh, Malcolm X said, "Black women are the least protected women out here. I need protection." So understand, you don't need a man. You're independent. You are without protection. You can survive in this world on your own, but you're the least protected. How does that work?
Oh, well, you know what I mean. Well, this is a problem when it comes to them. They change the definition of the shit with their feelings. I mean, I sit here and laugh. I've watched so many arguments transpire, and it's like they'll change one word in a sentence that'll give it a total meaning, different meaning, or they interpretate something in a wrong way. And you sit up here and say, well, but that's not what the person said. But I don't give a damn if that's not what they said. After hearing that, this is how I feel. So basically, you trigger a feeling. Basically, to them, that gives them the end all be all rights, and they can do whatever they want after that. I mean, if you really want to tell it, I said best word to piss a black woman off, submit.
Commit. That what you said?
No, submit.
Submit. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
I'm glad
you
you
want?
brought it.
Okay,
I'm glad you
apparently.
brought that up. The submission
Now,
conversation.
all you got to do is this, and this the problem is this: they sit up here and say that they want relationships and they want the protection, but you tell their ass to do something, they ain't gonna do it.
And they want to be able to reserve the right to be. One thing I've noticed about gender war and how society reacts to black men in general is they want the right to be able to treat you how they want to publicly. Period.
Definitely.
And they always got this goddamn stupid excuse for that shit or some justification. And speaking of media influence, I know that most of the audience probably doesn't watch things like Real Housewives of Atlanta, but my wife did, and one thing that really stuck out to me is when Nene Leakes called one of them grown black men a little bitch on national television. And nobody flipped. Nobody said anything. No one said anything about the mistreatment of black men. And they were like, black men, let's keep it real. We're not going to we're not going to voluntarily watch a program like that. But I understand, I started to understand what a lot of men talked about when they talk about how these ratchet ass TV shows be working.
Do,
It's
do you
like,
understand, Kev? I just really want to touch on what you just said immediately, right? So I've lived on the East Coast, I lived on the West Coast, I lived all over the world, right? Or all over the country, right? So realistically, on the East Coast, if you are a man, I don't know if this is a tribal thing, I don't know how this came about, but a man says to another man, "Suck my dick." Do you know that that man will lose his life over that shit? Like they
Yeah.
will legitimately try to kill you over that, right? So I know in Jamaica they will be like, "Suck your mother." A Jamaican, you tell a Jamaican that they will try to like end their life in order to get to you. On the West Coast, the way I was brought up, if a man calls you a bitch, you have to do something about that.
Right.
I remember my father telling me at an early age, if another man calls you a bitch in public and there's other people around, and you end up getting suspended, expelled, kicked out of the school, I understand because we
Right.
would never, ever, ever, ever tolerate that. Yes, if a man calls you a bitch in general, you beat his ass. But if they say it in school, these are the circumstances, there's a whole bunch of people around, you have to do what you have to do.
Definitely.
Understand, a man calls you that. What are you supposed to do when a woman calls you that? Just sit and take it idly? Mm-mm. Women know that, and that's why they say the shit that they say.
Them
Well,
too. This is the problem. They keep like they like to write a lot of checks their ass can't cash. I mean, and two, they always have that thing in their back pocket. They hoping that there'll be some dumbass nigga there to save their ass. Like I remember I showed y'all the video of the chick with me and the stuff. I turned around, it was like 4 men behind me. I said, "You better get one of these simp ass. You better go get one of these simp ass niggas and take your ass whipping for you." I'm like, "You come over here, I'm gonna beat the brakes off your ass." And it was just like I'll turn back and look at the 4 men. I said, "I'm gonna let you know. You touch me, I'm gonna stomp the shit out of your ass." Now one of the men like, "I ain't no simp." And they go like, "Don't you know how they looked away like I ain't about to get in no fight." They didn't, don't you know? Because I told them, I said, "What's the problem?" I think a lot of times they haven't. I guess they don't realize until that ticket get clocked. Once that ticket get punched, then they realize, oh my gosh, you know what? But if you see, think about it, that dude, that black woman who hit that white dude out in the parking lot, this dude had a gun in his hand. This bitch still is going off at his ass.
You talking about the chick who in Texas, right?
I think that the one with it happened in the parking lot, and he had a gun in his hand, and she's still
Yeah,
trying.
I don't. I've heard that she hit him, but I don't believe that she hit him. I realistically believe she came up with points and shit, and he was like, "Bitch, if you don't get out of here."
Right,
But either way, realistically, you took yourself out of a man's protection, you took yourself out of a lady's place, and then you tried to handle yourself as a man. So if I was a man in that situation, I probably would have got mad and got out that car. So if you pulled that gun on me, I would have dealt with those consequences and shut the fuck up.
right,
So you put yourself in a man's position, shut the fuck up.
right. I mean, this is the practice. This is the problem too with women too. They're not going. This is the problem with them. with men, no, like say I was talking shit and then nigga pull out a gun. It's like, oh shit, I know I ain't got no gun. Then it's only two things you can do: bluff, don't walk up on him and get no. But that bitch even walked up on him while he got the pistol in his hand. You know already. You walk up on a
No,
nigga that
no,
already
no,
got
no, no, no. She didn't. She didn't walk. When he pulled that pistol off, it was game over for her. She was done.
no. Remember, I'm talking about the man that slapped the woman. He had the gun in his hand when he slapped her.
So this might be something different. I don't know about the slap, but I know
Yeah,
the one in Texas.
yeah.
She pulled that gun out and went the hoe mode. He pulled her phone away, stepped on it like, "Bitch, what you gonna do now?" So yeah,
right.
that was a whole different thing. Okay.
Yeah. Cause I'm up here like, God, this is the problem, man. I've always said, my thing is this, hey, man, I don't give a fuck who you are. You try to hurt me, I'm gonna beat the brakes off your ass. And I hate to say it, if it's got to be a woman, it's got to be like this. I already know I'm gonna catch flack everywhere. So unfortunately, I'm gonna make it worth it. Because
My
according to public opinion, you're gonna be screwed. You're gonna get big
yeah.
time. You
My
might as well
only
make
thing
sure
is.
that she don't look good enough for another nigga to simp for her ass again.
So my only thing is I like and maybe this is just no, it's not even just me. So like I know how to fight. I fight well, right? But I own pistols. I have two in the house. I'm buying well apparently we're gonna buy an AR on Friday. We'll see what this one looks like. But,
Oh shit!
I own pistols, right? So uh, my thing is when I get into it and it's not like a weird ambush thing, I'd rather fight you as a man, right? I would never pull my gun out on a female unless I felt like she had a blade or some shit. If I saw the blade, I'd be like, oh, yeah. So I felt like he was a pussy in that regard. But, again, that's the difference between white supremacy and black men. Honestly, if regardless of the race, if he had punched her, I wouldn't have said nothing. It just was what it was. But he pulled out a gun. I feel like the chick wasn't that big of a threat because I don't feel like most men are that big of a threat. But that's the dynamic of me and not everybody else.
There's this video I just sent the link into.
I'll
Better
be backing up
Bachelor.
it.
Yes, sir. Better Bachelor has this video out about that, and the title is just "Women Like This Is Why My Channel Exists," and it's one of those matchmaking shows. But he was talking about the situation in which the man was talking to the lady in question about the way she handled some kind of conflict before, and he said, "I'm looking for maybe a mother for my daughter." And that was one thing I liked about this. They bring in this single father, and now he's telling the lady that she has to set the example, a good example for his daughter. And he was calmly telling her this. She interrupted him, got up in his face, put a finger in his face, stood up as if to intimidate him. And he's well over 6 feet tall. And then then he didn't even do anything to her. He turned and left when she started fussing. He just turned and left. She even told him, "Get out of my face" or something. So he left, and all these guys, other contestants, came in to intervene as if he had been in the wrong. That's when she started to cry. And the funny thing is that when she started to cry, Better Bachelor points this out. You don't see any mascara running from her eyes. And then she started to say that I don't care what I did. You don't talk to a woman that way. Even though this man had not fussed at her, she had fussed at him. She was the one to raise her voice. She was the one to get up in his face because he gently started to correct her about something. And she's too old to have kids. I'll put it like that. So we have to understand that's what we're dealing with, and that's who taught Sapphire. Becky, Karen, and Amber, they've been entitled with this stuff, and that's the one that taught Sapphire. Now, the only difference is that Sapphire, she brags about how quickly she goes off and how little she takes and how little she doesn't listen. So Becky and Karen and Amber don't necessarily brag about that as often or as much, but they're really doing the same things. We got to understand is that I'm not even telling you all that the white MGTOW spaces are some kind of teacher for us per se. They actually learn this stuff from us. But what I am saying is that if you listen to what they're saying that their women are doing, that's exactly what we're dealing with, because their women were the ones that taught African American women this stuff. and African American women, by extension, became the model for other Western Black women in Canada and the UK and Australia, and even Western Europe, by which to model their attitudes of rebellion. So another thing too I want to say about the intellect or the comparative intellect, we see that they're as capable as we are. But the thing is this, when it comes to physics, as an example, if they're not that cute, then they're forced to be smart. They got to be a good physicist. If when it comes to nursing or medicine, if they're not that cute, they got to be smart and they got to be a good doctor or a good nurse. The thing is that we men have made it too easy if they're cute. That's where we screwed up, and I've been saying that for the longest. But then again, we were last few generations, we were outright taught to do this. We were told specifically that we had to simp. I mean, in the '90s, we were told everything we know now was simping is exactly what we were told in the '90s you had to do if you wanted to get that woman, and all that did was get the unattractive ones. While of course the ones that didn't do this, despite what ladies said, not because ladies told them that they didn't want that, but in spite of the fact that no one was saying they didn't want this, it was the dudes that refused to give that wound up succeeding to a certain extent. But what I'm saying is that we've made certain things too easy in the long run. So the only thing we need to take accountability for is that, because we really didn't know. But the mistake was just that we made things too easy. We didn't give them anything to work for. So when we see them being less intelligent than us, it's not because they can't be as smart. It's because we just never made them. We never demanded that they bring something to the table above the neck, so to speak. That's just, and granted, when they do have something going on upstairs, that's also when they turn around and they say, well, since I am smart, I need a man that's smart like me. They'll do that. But the point is that we never pretty much said, wait a minute, if I got to bring this to the table, what are you going to bring to the table? So, I mean, mentally speaking, intellectually, we didn't do that. We've let, in a nutshell, we've let them come to us game goofy. And game is going to be the perfect example of that. If we got to be smart enough to have some kind of game, obviously we're not outsmarting them because they came up with game and put the onus on us to have it and develop it without them even defining what the hell it is. But we never flipped that on them and said, okay, well now let's see you sit back and impress us. I mean, we'll do it. We got to impress you fine. But now when we've done it, let's see you sit back and impress us too. We never flipped that on them. And that's been our mistake. But now we got to tell these young guys, the guys that are 14, the ones whose mothers are not going to approve of this, we got to tell them, you have every right to sit back and say, now you impress me. What are you going to do to impress me since I got to do something to impress you? And you better not be wearing the wrong clothes when you do it. I mean, we pretty much got to tell these guys, as difficult as you find it, you must make it. And that's with regards to getting jobs, dating, or should I say marrying in my case. I'm just saying that we outside of romance, we have to do the same thing. We got to tell these young guys to do the same thing. However difficult you find it, you must make it. Whatever standards you find they have, it's okay to try to meet them, but you must have the same standards or a comparable standard in its place for them to meet. Because they're not only demanding too much and offering too little. On the flip side, we're demanding too little and offering too much. That's the double-sided coin. And that's all. That's my sermon for the morning.
Oh, okay. This has been going for 3 hours. I'm gonna say one more thing, and you can expand on this, and then it's over. We've been going for 3 hours. One thing I do hear in a lot of these discussions is someone will throw out the words "black men have no power." I happen to disagree with that because when people think in terms of power, they think in terms of resources, the control of resources. So that's what they mean. Black men have no resources. However, we do have mental and psychological power. What I mean by that is every time we say one thing that is a brutally honest truth about what we see, and it does involve the women, it produces like 150, 200 like YouTube videos and countless numbers of social media posts What I'm trying to say is it is power in your thought process, black man, especially the critically thinking black man. When you tell the truth hurts. I don't get why anyone, especially a black person, especially a black woman, says hit dogs will holler when they say egregious, absurd things about black men, like black men have no power and black men are defeated. We have the power to trigger you. Plus, if you want to talk about hit dog and you want to talk shit like if it don't apply, let it fly. No one plays bigger hit dogs than black women on social media. Then you're saying if it don't apply, let it fly. But if you're going to sit up here and complain over and over again about being bashed by black men, then you must be the hit dog. Everything is about projection to these women. You know, I almost slipped. Everything is about projection, and if they keep projecting, they they won't ever stop. They keep projecting, and then that shows me that they don't want the problem solved. That they must love the chaos. Now, I like kind of the tone of what Black Mind has been saying. We got to start punishing them, and I mean, like, not really so much physically, but we got to start punishing them in other ways. If they're not going to adhere to the leadership that they asked for from us as black men, then punish them, cut them out. Don't enable their lifestyles like the government has. So that's what I'm saying. The fact that we're able to just say something and you have to spend your time and your devotion because you hate what's being said, that's power right there. It truly is. Now, as far as this being a gender war, like I said, it's not really so much gender war as in the war on the critically thinking black man. It because it really is one thought process versus another thought process, and that's what is going on. There are both genders on both sides of the thought process, and the thought process is asking one question: who is more accountable, black men or black women? Now, if you count the way Western culture is shaped, I truly believe that uh, not only black women are accountable, they are the aggressors at this point. They won't let it go. They just won't. And as black men, we got to stop letting it go when they do shit like that. Just because you don't respond to it doesn't mean that you're going to be looked at as you got some kind of steel chest or you're a real man in their eyes because you really should have no one else determining your manhood for you. It's going to keep going. It's going to keep going until we really honestly decide that it stops. It's not black men. It's not that black men have to stop talking. Is that we got to start punishing these bitches. Not physically, but we got to hold them to the level of accountability that they deserve. Not necessarily the level of accountability that men go through. Hold them to the level of accountability that they deserve. And then after that they can scream about being bashed all they want. I mean, this is like I really would like to move on from this so-called gender war, but because of the things I keep seeing about black men in particular. Like, and it's not like it's not just the celebrities. It's not just an Ice Cube. It's not just a 50 Cent. It's not just a Lil Wayne. And 50 Cent and Lil Wayne are poor examples, but Ice Cube actually put together a plan that it wasn't just him; it was experts. But since he was a black man, y'all treated him like he got it out of the Salvation Army or some shit like that, and tried to present it to blacks. Y'all treated it like it was a piece of garbage. And I believe most of that is because he's a black man. And if it's because he's a black man, then black men collectively, we got to start taking a look at this shit before it gets too far out of control. So, anything else, gentlemen? Black Mind, Dre?
Thank
Because
you.
I see that Donnie's already left.
Thanks a million. Thanks for being patient.
Okay, yeah. Thanks for joining, and that's it for now. Just for those of you watching, like I said, I'm the Weekend Warrior. I'm on every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Uh, if you know, if like I said, if life doesn't happen, but I will be here tomorrow night. Tomorrow night's topic will be she doesn't like the simping you. I really want to stress how the guys that we qualify as simps, and simp will be clearly defined. But I will tell you right now what a simp is not. A simp is not a black man that loves black women. That's not a simp at all. So we won't be discussing that. We won't be berating somebody just because they uh, carry out their own heterosexual, heterosexual lifestyles. To me, honestly, because of the gender war, I feel like that your only purpose as a simp is that you're an attack dog. Period. You're never going to be appreciated. You're never going to be exalted as an example of a black man, that kind of black man. Like they'll say it as a superficial gratification, like they'll say it in like a comment or a reply. But because of you, bruh, black women will never go on a campaign to uplift black men. Period. And it's not it's actually you're doing the opposite of what you want to do. You're trying to be apologetic and show them that, oh, not all black men are like that. But I'll explain that and go more into detail about it tomorrow night, and the panel will be open. So for Donnie, Black Mind, and Judge Dre, stick around, Black Mind, for a second, Black Mind.
Yes,
Uh,
sir.
um, for these guys, this is Kev. I'm your weekend warrior. Long live the habitual line steppers. In Kev we trust. Goodbye.